I'm Natalie.
And I'm Hannah. Welcome to the Stride Sisters podcast. On today's episode, we've got a special one for you. We're officially wrapping up the 2024 to 2025 runDisney season. It feels like we were just stepping into the bubble for Wine Dine, and now we've crossed the finish line of Springtime Surprise and are getting ready for the next season. So today, we're looking back at all the races, the fun, the lessons we've learned, and yes, some of our favorite running fails too. Plus, we're sharing your favorite runDisney memories from this season. So whether you ran one race, the whole season, or just followed along, cheering your heart out, we're glad you're here. Let's celebrate the miles behind us and get excited for the new season that's already around the corner. So lace up your shoes and step into the magic with us. And it glows in the dark.
Ooh. It's like kind of dopey colors.
It is. And post-race, it was a post-race thing. It was on clearance when we were in there. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I tested it in my pantry to see how glow in the dark it was when we got home.
I love it.
Speaking of training, I guess, and rewarding myself, I ran a race this weekend.
Woo! Tell us.
I ran the Atlanta Women's 4-miler sponsored by Northside Hospital. It was really fun. I originally signed up for it a couple of months ago, post Princess, what I thought was peak slump, but it was really just the beginning of the slump. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, another race will help me get it together. I completely forgot that I signed up, basically. Until I knew I had, but I forgot when the dates were. This is very me. I'm not very good at time in my brain. That's why everything's got to be on the calendar. And 2 weeks ahead of time I went, oh, it's in 2 weeks. Oops. Luckily 4 miles, not so bad. It's not like I signed myself up for a half or a full and forgot about it. That's good. But I was very excited about it. I just decided it was going to be for fun. I went and picked up my bib the day before. It's very much not like Disney. There's the Lenox Mall here in Atlanta, and they had it in the parking lot. The expo was in the parking lot, and it was hot and humid. There was no one there, probably because it was Friday is a work day and it's a local race, so people generally are probably not going to come till after work.
Mm-hmm.
It was open till 8 p.m. I think. I got off a little bit early, so I went before 5, and it was just completely dead, which meant there was no line to pick up my bib or my shirt, which was great. I met another lovely young woman while I was there who was one of the in one of the vendor booths, who sells her and her college friends put together a business, and they sell it's called the Safely Sidekick, and they sell pepper spray and stuff to go with it. But basically, it's a really snazzy pepper spray grip for when you're running. It's so comfy. It's they made it super lightweight there, and then it's got an extra strap that goes around the back of your hand to make sure that if you lost grip, it's not just gonna fling. Plus there's a wrist holder, similar to your Wii remote or whatever from when you're growing up. Maybe. Or maybe your friends had one, I don't know. And it's got a glass breaker on the bottom. It's got one of those loud noise thingies built in, and it's got a flashlight. So it's this super combo thing. It looks like it comes in white and pink. I'm not sponsored. I just thought it was really cool, and she was really nice. And so I checked that out, and I told her about the podcast. So hi, if you're listening. I never know how to tell people or not tell people about it in public when it's appropriate. But yeah, I'm thinking about getting one. It's
Yeah.
very like I said, it was super light. Normally I don't like holding things in my hand, but it looked pretty good. So they also were it was a lot of stuff. It was a women's only race. So there was a lot of stuff about like women's safety and
Mhm.
going on. There was like a Girl Scouts booth, and there was Girls on the Run, and they had a lot of inspiring people there. They had a panel that I did not get to witness, but there was a panel with uh, Catherine Schweitzer, might be. I'm not good at pronouncing people's names, but she was the first woman to like officially register and run the Boston Marathon.
Mhm. Got
Um,
chased off.
yeah. So that was pretty cool. She was there. She spoke on that panel, and she was there sending people off that morning of the race. And I think she might have jumped into my corral to run the race, which is pretty cool. So I was on the same course as her. Snazzy. It was not a fun morning though. Like we went from like blazing hot and humid the day before the expo, and then that morning thunderstorms. It was raining, and I had planned out the whole I was wearing my Crowned Athletics purple mermaid. I don't actually know what that one, like what the design is called, but it's like the lavendery light purple mermaid situation, skort and sports bra. It's the first time I've ever run a race in just the sports bra. Normally I wear a shirt, and it went a lot better than I anticipated. So that was good. And I got a ton of compliments on it. I was a little hesitant, like, because it was a lot colder. Like, we went from in the 80s the day before to, I think that morning, low 60s and raining and windy.
Hmm.
I was like, this is still like hot weather. Like, this would still be shorts and t-shirt running weather. So it's not like it's not like I'm going to be cold or anything, but something about it, I was unsure. I brought my rain jacket thinking I might run in my rain jacket if it was really coming down. And we were late per usual. Ben and I we didn't end up being late. We ended up being like perfectly on time, but I don't think I know what the appropriate time is to arrive for a local race, because for Disney you show up so early that I just don't know when you're supposed to show up to like a normal race. And by default we ended up showing up. We found the parking, which was difficult because there was like, no, the roads weren't closed, but they had all the cones up and everything, and they were kind of directing traffic, and Google didn't know what to do. And even though we knew how to get there, it was still just confusing. We parked in the parking garage at the mall and walk up to the start line as they're calling 60 seconds till Corral A. And
Dang.
I'm in Corral B. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was really glad I pinned my bib on in the car on the way there.
Mhm.
And I got in line. I asked someone random in the corral to take my picture, and it might have been one of the best pictures I got. I
Love it.
still haven't seen any of the professional ones. They haven't rolled in yet. And yeah, with like 2 minutes maybe in the corral, like literally basically I got there and then we started. So there was no waiting around, which was nice because it was raining. Unlike
Mhm.
the Disney World marathon weekend half where I just stood in the rain for like hours. That was pleasant, and it was cool. It basically just sprinkled the whole time. It was like sprinkly mist, which was actually pretty nice. Especially the back half, which was all hills.
Ugh.
um it was really, yeah, the first half was amazing. It wasn't all downhill, but it wasn't hilly. It was at least flat. And there was a bunch of people. I love finding other like Run Disney, or at least I assume they're Run Disney people in the wild, because I was wearing the crowned outfit. Many people ran past me saying that they loved my crowned, or they loved my outfit, or they loved my sparkle because I had glitter all over my face. I basically had my whole outfit was purple. You can check it out on our Instagram. But I just, even though it was raining, I felt so, like, energized. It was so fun. Everyone was cheering. Everyone was very supportive of each other. There was a lot of moms and daughters running together because it's Mother's Day
Aw.
weekend, and there was a little girl. Like, I don't know what their minimum age cutoff was, but there was, like, a little girl. She looked like she's maybe still in elementary school, like, age, running with her mom, and just before we got to the 2 mile, like, she was definitely, like, struggling to keep up with her mom. And her mom had to turn around, and I think she was, like, a little discouraged, and her mom was telling her, like, "You're doing amazing, we're almost there, like,
Oh.
we're just having fun, so no worries, like, we can do this," kinda thing, and I turned around, and I was like, "You're doing great, you've got this, like, look, there's the 2 mile mark," and then as we ran across the timer at the 2 mile mat, like, turned around again and went, "Woo, we did it, halfway, yay!"
Aw.
And I hope they had a good rest of the race because she was definitely struggling, but, like, I was just really nice to see her out there with her mom and her, like, being so encouraging, and it was just really cute. And then we got to the hills. Literally, as soon as we passed to the 2 mile mat, it was hill after hill after hill after hill after hill, and I was like, "Why?"
My nightmare.
That was where they put the one water stop that was on course, basically right before we hit all the hills. And it was also when we got off of the roads, and I think that's why I turned to hills because it was, like, the 400 trail. It's, like, an actual, like, walking path that we were on for most of the rest of the way, and, yeah, it was just up and down and up and down, and, of course, when you're, running with your gym boss or with, like, an interval, somehow your walk interval is always the downhill part. I don't know how the universe does that to you, but it is. So I did take a couple of intervals where I just walked through my running interval because I got to the point where my heart rate was in the 190s, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't think I can run up this hill. I just don't think I have it in me right now." So I took some extended walking breaks, and then by the end, the very, very last bit, like, we're running uphill, there's people cheering, other people have finished already, they're coming back the other way, and they're like, "You're almost there. It's all downhill from here," and I was like, "Thank goodness." And it was the, like, last finisher, basically the finisher shoot of sorts, was all downhill, and I just let it take me. Like, I went from we don't talk about pace a lot on the podcast, but I wanna give you some perspective of how much these hills impacted me. I started at a 10.5-minute mile pace for the first 2 miles, and I was feeling great. Hit the hills, and the 3rd mile was, like, 11.5 or maybe 11:15-ish, and the 4th mile was 12.5. Like, I just, like, slowly had to ease back off, and then because, my watch versus the actual distance you run and all the skyscraper buildings because 'cause we're in Atlanta, there's some differences. You can see the last little sprint in my watch data says that my finisher shoot sprint pace was an 8-minute mile.
Damn, slay.
So, like, I really just was like, "Go, go, 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 go. It doesn't matter. Leave it all out there." And so those hills were not nice, but I was so happy to be done. It was still raining. Ben and I did not make a plan for how to meet up. I mean, it was a small race. I didn't really think about it that much. I was like, worst case scenario, I just go hide under a tree and call him. But he found me actually just like sort of wandering around. They handed us roses through the finish line.
Aw.
I heard in the past that maybe when it's not raining, that there have been shirtless firemen passing out roses at this race. That was not the case when I ran it, but I will definitely be running in the future, and I hope that that's the case. That'll be fun. They were also it's a sponsor. It was sponsored. I don't know if it is every year, but it was sponsored by Adidas this year, and it
Ooh.
sounded like it's usually sponsored by Adidas. That if you wore Adidas shoes, which I did not because they don't fit my feet, but if you do, then there's like a separate line. It's kind of like the challenge line at Disney where like you get your medal, but you also get their free gift. And it was a like crossbody bag Like the Lulu bag everyone wears, the whatever that one
Mm.
is, but like, and it was lavender, and I was actually quite like, darn, I wish I could wear Adidas shoes. I heard someone say that they don't wear Adidas shoes either, but they own one pair and they wear them every year for this race, and that's all they wear them for.
Amazing.
And I was like, what an investment.
True.
But if you get a free gift every year out of it, then like eventually I guess it pays for itself. Girl math.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, and it was really good. There were quite I know that I got some photos. They just haven't been uploaded yet because there were quite I was surprised how many like photographers I saw on course. It was with Marathon Photo, who takes most of the photos for like the world majors and stuff too. So I'm hopeful that I got in a few of them. And there was someone who on course must have told me at least twice. I don't know if she remembers that it was me or not. Told me multiple times she liked my outfit, and then we
Oh,
finished around the same time as well. And I was walking out with Ben with my stuff, and she stopped me and told me that she liked my crowned again, and she was wearing a crowned hat. And we chatted about that a little bit. She runs Disney as well, told me a couple of the races that she's done. I did not manage to plug the podcast in that one, but it was just really cute. And I was surprised how many people I talked to, because normally, like if I go to a race like that by myself, I talk to nobody. So it was just really fun. We tried to go home afterwards, and we got stuck in our car in the parking garage for over 20 minutes before we bailed, parked again, and went inside the mall. And we're like, we'll just wait. We'll just window shop for a while and try again later. Which did work out. When we finally did go back out, like over an hour later, there was no one in the parking garage, and we were able to just breeze on out. So that was good. The medal is gorgeous. I know that's what you guys have all been waiting for. Not that you can see it, but I'm going to show Natalie and I'll describe it visually. And if you want to see, you can check it out on our Instagram. But it's a real pressed flower. I believe it is a pansy. And they set it in resin inside of like a metal ring for a medal. And it says 2025 Northside Hospital and Atlanta Women's 4 miler. And it's got 5 like flowers on each side of it, like engraved, and the ribbon itself has the same flowers um on it, and it's like a blue, like it's not what color blue do you think this is? Because it's like blue and purple together, so it's kind of hard to tell,
yeah.
because it's not navy, like that is not this shade, but I don't know what to describe it as.
Probably like a mix between like a true blue and like a navy.
Yeah,
It's got
it's
hints of
definitely a
purple
lot
though. Indigo?
dustier. Maybe. Yeah, maybe like a dusty indigo.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, because it's not bright. Like, let's be clear, it's not bright. You guys can all let us know in the comments that we're terrible at colors. And it's an Atlanta Track Club event that's put on every single year, and I'm an Atlanta Track Club member, so I took a picture with the sign there, and it's on the ribbon as well. But if you're ever in Atlanta and you want to run like kind of an odd distance, like I don't think I've ever heard of a 4 miler before this race, it was really, really fun, and I would definitely recommend. And it's definitely made me like super excited. I bought a treadmill. So I'm about to be running all the time. And I signed up. They had an app that I found out about at the expo called Running Mate. More free PR because we're not sponsored. But it's like Uber. This is their tagline. It's like Uber, but for running buddies. So you can sign up to either be a runner or a mate. And like runner, you're like basically you essentially are paying someone to run with you. No shade. Like I would totally do that, especially if I was traveling or whatever. And they had do extensive background checks on all
That's where
parties
I
that
was
join the
asking.
app. Yeah, because it's like a safety thing. So the
Yeah.
person who created the app apparently was a victim of SA,
Mm.
possibly more than once, if I'm remembering correctly, which is awful. And they were like, there has to be something out there. Like there has to be some way to like allow women. I don't. It's not women exclusive. Like men can join the app too, but to protect people who want to be able to go run and feel like they can go do that and not be limited to like the gym on a treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they do those, and I signed up to be a mate. So if you're in Atlanta, you might be able to find me and hire me to be your running buddy.
Can I ask what's the going rate? Like that's
Oh, yeah.
I'm fascinated.
So it depends on the distance, apparently. So
Yeah.
if it's under 5 miles, I think, let me pull it. Let's confirm. I don't want to, I mean, again, we're not paid. So I guess if I got it wrong, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But, um,
Because like a
okay.
20 makes it's a lot different than a 10 than a
Yeah. Okay. So here's the
45-minute run.
pricing for
Okay.
runners. 1 to 5 miles, the runners pay $25 and 5 plus is $35, but it doesn't scale up. So like it could be a 20-mile run and it's the same rate as a 6-mile run. And then the mates get paid for 1 to 5 miles, you get $10, and for 5 plus miles, you get 15.
Hmm.
So like the app is definitely making more, but like I just kind of thought it would be fun to see if anyone wants to run with me. It's live in Boston, Massachusetts, Austin, Texas, Tampa, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia, West Palm Beach, Florida, and Salt Lake City, Utah, apparently, with Nashville, Tennessee, Charleston, South Carolina, Denver, Colorado, and LA coming up soon.
That's interesting to me because I would have thought like I feel like it makes a lot more sense for more moderately sized cities, I guess, now that I think
Mm-hmm.
about it. But um like I would have really expected you to say Chicago.
Yeah.
So you could go run with the Pope. Uh I was gonna get a Pope joke in. Duh. Duh Pope. But that's so interesting. I guess it makes kind of more for like a more moderately sized city. Not to say that Atlanta's a small city, but
Mm-hmm.
I would or like New York, where
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's
Yeah, I have
interesting.
no idea what their strategy is there with like what locations they have and haven't added, but yeah, they are all kind of like moderate size. Besides
I guess LA is
Boston, they're all
yeah.
kind of southern-ish. Utah doesn't count. Utah is whatever Utah is. Uh and yeah, it almost seems like some of like LA is coming. Denver's
Mhm.
I don't know if Denver's moderate or not, but
Yeah, it's probably a bigger city for
yeah.
sure. That's super
Maybe
interesting.
vacation destinations? Like, are those popular vacation destinations? Because maybe that's what they're going for.
Yeah, I guess yeah, if like you don't know the area.
Because they do really like advertise that of like you can pick a mate and they can like show you around the area. Like they can show you where it's safe, tell you about like what you're running by and stuff. And like when you fill out your profile, if you want to be a running mate, then you basically say like, do you want to just be like a buddy that someone runs with, or do you also kind of want to almost act like a tour guide of sorts? You get to set
Hmm.
your own radius too of like, I'll only run with people inside this area.
Huh.
So like I won't like I'm not set up to run with people near the airport. Also, you don't have to accept everything. I haven't literally no one has asked me if to run with them, but also maybe no one else in Atlanta has the app. So who knows?
This is fascinating.
I'm doing it as as an experiment more than like I don't. It's not a side hustle or a gig or whatever. I just kind of thought I was like, well, it would be kind of fun if someone wanted to like hire me to run with them. Like I'll run with someone. Honestly, I just want people to hire me to run with them on the Silver Comet.
This is very interesting. I feel like I have a lot of thoughts about like, it's one of those like, oh, like that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um,
It
for
reminds me
sure.
of like when we were in college. I don't know that you had to pay for it, but like you obviously could just like call campus security whenever if you
Mhm.
wanted like a companion back to from wherever you were to
Yeah.
wherever you were going. But I think they have similar programs in like bigger cities and stuff where you can basically pay someone to walk you home
Mhm.
for safety as well. So I do think it's an interesting mashup concept, and I feel like it's really early in
Mhm.
their like journey.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see like how it goes. because you just see all kinds of terrible things. And that is one of my biggest fears with running outside is like running by myself. I don't really like to do it, honestly, very much. I prefer to have Ben with me.
Yeah.
Safety in numbers.
Yeah, there's things that we have to worry about that we shouldn't. We should be able to run wherever we please and not have to worry about certain things. But unfortunately, that's not the world we live in.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you need a running buddy and it's in your city, you could try Running Mate. And if you want some like personal safety gear, you could look at let me really plug it because she was very nice.
We love small businesses.
Yeah, and I just thought it was so cute because it's her and her college friends too. I was like, oh, we love friends. We love running friends. Okay, so her name is Ashley and the company is called Safely Self-Defense.
Okay.
And they're on Instagram with the same name. So, you know, if you want to check it out, their pepper spray comes in like holographic packaging. So
Ooh.
That's fun.
Yeah. Make it fun if we have to, you know, worry about that. You know, we might as well make it a little fun to look at.
I mean, they had fun.
It's more likely that you're going to take it though, because like, oh, I have my cute little, right? Like, and like, again, like I hate that we have to worry about stuff like that, but
yeah. And it's comfy. Like I have pepper spray, but I never bring it with me on my run because there's no like, it's just a normal can of pepper spray. It's not the most comfortable thing to hold in my hand. And if I stick it in the pocket of my running vest, like, am I really going to have time to pull it out and use it if I had to?
Yeah. Yeah, mine comes with me, but it's like the same of like if it's like buried behind the goo like, in my vest. But I mean it does still come with me. It's accessible. And especially once I drink one of the water bottles, if I'm thinking like long run, then it goes into that pocket. Like we do a little like switchy switch.
I've tried clipping my pepper spray to my vest before with like a little bungee cord so that it's more accessible like on the outside, but I still just like, you know, probably in your hand is the best.
Yeah. Holding something doesn't really bother me at all. So, because I used to hold my phone exclusively. So, it doesn't really bug me.
Huh. How's your first week of training going for Chicago? Tell the people. I just blathered on for forever.
So far, so good. I had my first speed workout in I don't even know how long. I think I've done another one in 2025, but when I think about it, I'm not entirely certain because post-dopey, the frequency, quantity, whatever you want to call it, of running was not my best. Now, to be honest, that's also Midwest winter based. So, and like I'm recovering from, you know, like there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
I might have done one sometime in February, like that rings a bell, but I also don't remember it. So maybe it was just not something to write home about.
Fair.
But
the A race was in the past, so we're just maintaining.
Yeah, that was the whole vibe. But I did my first speed workout and I went a little hard in the paint because, and I knew I was during some of it because it was 5 miles with speed. I was given speeds for mile 2, mile 3, mile 4, and then mile 5 was basically like give it what you got. You know, the first mile was warm up, and I noticed even like within that first mile that I was like, like I'm kind of like I like had to like stop myself, whatever. I was like, okay, I want to like make sure I hit. And then the other paces, it was like a minute under what I was supposed to. Like, oops. But it was definitely a very invigorating workout to have. And I, you know, if it's been a questionable amount of time since you've done a speed workout, you kind of sit and wonder, like, so where are we? What are we? No, your situationship with speed workouts, but I don't know. I was really, really jazzed about it. And I didn't really keep it very flat either because of course I didn't. It's where the spirits move me when I do a speed workout. I mean, yes, I have certain areas where like I do like most of the hills at the front end and then like, but no, it was still hilly. Fight for my life out there. But I was very, very, very pleased with the effort. I definitely hit paces that I again, wasn't sure of. It terrifies me for my next speed workout when Kristen gives me a new, she's like, oh, okay, this is what we're going to do now. But it makes me excited that like, I've retained what I have.
That's always scary.
Yeah,
After
it is.
like any kind of break.
Because it's like one of those where it's always interesting at the start of a training block where I go in and like my goals usually are shaped later on because I figure out what's going to be realistic. But I have like, obviously, I've always had like, this is what happened last season. And like, these are what my goals like, were with last season. And that shapes how I pull my goals for next. And I always get to some point where I wonder like, oh, was this a fluke?
Mm-hmm.
And I started last dopey. I had a lot of imposter syndrome with it because it was my sophomore dopey. And I was like, okay, so like, what if it was just a fluke? Like, what if like the fact that it was a 7-miler versus the full half marathon for Goofy, and that was why like I was able to pull what I did. Spoiler, it wasn't. I also completed the 13 miles, so I don't know what I was thinking.
Dopey is never a fluke. Like if you complete a dopey, that is the most amazing fluke ever if it is.
True. So I don't know. I was kind of like, well, what if it was like what if what I ran in January was like a fluke because I have like a pretty aggressive goal for Chicago. And well, I go back and forth with thinking it's aggressive. Cuz like
does Kristen think it's aggressive?
No.
Then you're going to be fine.
Yes, but I feel like I need to I always have to couch it. It always has to be like, okay, like so this is like your A goal, this is your A++ goal, this is your A++++ goal. Type of thing where she doesn't think because like this will be my first standalone full, but also like I'm trying to be like, well, what if it's a fluke? What if it's a scam? Like, but I have a kind of what I think because I also am realistic in the fact that my like differences between marathon times between my first and second cut over an hour off, between my second and third cut over 30 minutes off. I can't keep expecting to have like a minute per mile or more off my times. I know I can't. But I mean, that also doesn't take into account what I learn within each training cycle or what I improve upon. I think the whole not running 4 days in a row thing's could really help in Chicago. But anyway, but it kind of feels good to be in a spot where I hit some pretty quick and also that was my first speed workout using my runDisney Brooks.
Ooh.
And I think my second time wearing them. So I was like started off and I'm like, I feel crinkly as I'm running up a hill, like going, I was like, all right, this is great. I was like, whatever, it is what it is. It's the first speed workout of a training block. It's fine. And then I came off of it like, holy crap. Because like what I averaged even with my warm up and cool down, like it was kind of close to where I need to be for that marathon pace I'm aiming for. So yoinks. Now if I run like that, I will be holding on for dear life for another 21 miles, but that's future me's problem to worry about. Definitely future me's, but yeah, the rest of training went pretty well. I'm trying to really focus on like having like when it says easy, go easy. Easier said than done. Well, it's not that I like want to like I just sometimes I catch myself like, oh, I mean, I guess if I'm going faster than I anticipate and then but it doesn't feel hard to do that, then I don't know. This is how I justify it in my head. Like that's fine. Right. Cause it's not like I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to go a lot more off of field and stats. For this.
I have also been trying to do that more.
Right? Like, yeah, ding dong. Like you ran up a really steep hill. Of course that but I also incorporated my other pair of runDisney Brooks for a walk. So the Ghost Maxes have made their debut because I'm determined to not just let them sit in my house and let the foam degrade. Right? Like I want to use them. So I took them out for a walk. My feet feel wonderful. I'm very, because I like just ran across the street at one point because Mr. Natalie and I went on a walk and like, crossing over because I try to go quickly. And it felt so nice to run in them. So I will take them out on a run, but they're getting added to the spreadsheet. We're moving on up.
I'm considering doing a spreadsheet this year because I feel like, okay, so I love Strava and it does make tracking things very easy. It's all in there. It's just, drop down menus and stuff. But I feel like I want to have maybe a more involved or like conscious like participation in my tracking this year because I want to add more of the like how I feel and stuff data in, and Strava also has a spot for that. But I just feel like something about, I say this and who knows if I'll be able to keep it up, but something about like maybe even doing it as like a journal or something. I'll still have to do a spreadsheet because that data has to be in a table.
Mood.
Just really, I feel like will really click and help for looking back, for that feeling of like, especially when you start the next one, of like looking back and being like, oh, well, this is where I was at this time in the training cycle last year. And like, I'm feeling great and all that. I think it would be a nice, better connection to what we're doing, I guess. That all sounds very like woo-woo.
No, I support it because I think, and I was thinking about this recently too, because I need to like rebuild my spreadsheet for Chicago training. That's a separate thing. But my just running log, what I do is my last couple columns. So it's like after our total or after the totals, I have it. And it's not like I have like what interval I used, and then also just a place for notes where I like have established patterns where if I didn't fuel well the day before, that's a note I write. And now I've seen that note enough times that I
can establish the pattern. Yeah.
Yeah. So like stuff like that, or like, oh, this was the dew point was insane today. Stuff like that. And like I like to give myself credit when like, or like, this felt really, really good. And like this, like, stuff like that. So I think sometimes the notes help. Like I don't linger on them too much, but I try to, obviously it's something with like a 20, like I write more notes in True Coach, or I write whatever, but like there it's more of a summary of like, oh, felt really, really strong. Or like sometimes again, like when I, it gives me a space where like if I am feeling any kind of twinges and whatnot, like I'll write it in there. And luckily, and knock on wood that this continues, I've been pretty good about that. But just I try to identify little things that are patterns that help later. And it is helpful, I think, to have that note. And I feel like for some reason it just looks different on a spreadsheet than it does in an app. It just, I mean, obviously it looks different, but just it hits different, in the spreadsheet versus in the app. Big fan of that. Because, I obviously, again, spreadsheet girly over here. Because then, like, you realize it's like, oh, how much did I run this training cycle? Like, it's actually a little harder than you'd expect to tally that up. So.
All right, you ready for some countdowns?
Oh, I'm ready.
We are officially... Okay, so, like, technically last week would have been the first week that any training plans started for Run Disney for the upcoming season. And so we will be starting to add those back in. If you need a calendar for any of the races, I have programmed every single possible variation of Galloway training calendars into iCalendar, so you can transfer that to like your Google Calendar. If you have Apple, it's easy peasy and stuff, and keep track. But we're also going to be using that to like tell what workouts are happening on what days and stuff. So Disneyland Halloween is the only thing that has started training thus far. We have 114 days until Disneyland Halloween Half Marathon 2025. Wine and Dine, we have 163 days until Wine and Dine Half Marathon Weekend 2025. We have 239 days until Marathon Weekend 2026. Yes. Shirt deadline is June 15th, 2025, and your proof of time deadline is July 1st, 2025. That will also be our 1-year anniversary of the podcast, so get excited. We have 261 days until Disneyland Half Marathon Weekend 2026, and thanks to Jess for giving us the times, because now we know when your shirt deadline is, and that's July 16th, 2025, and your proof of time deadline is August 1st, 2025. We have 289 days until Princess Half Marathon Weekend 2026. And your Club Run Disney registration is coming up in just about a month, on June 17th, 2025. And general registration is on June 24th, 2025. We have 338 days until Springtime Surprise Weekend 2026, with Club Run Disney registration on July 22nd, 2025, and general registration on July 29th, 2025. On to some news. Let us have it, Natalie.
All right. So the big thing from this week was that Disney is going to develop a park in Abu Dhabi. I cannot say this was on my bingo card.
I don't think it was on many people's bingo cards, honestly. There's a lot of mixed feelings about this.
Yeah.
Not necessarily from me, but like the general public.
Yeah. I think I have a couple of interesting feelings. I think that it's going to be an absolutely incredible, stunning park, because it's going to have a similar deal with like a third-party investor that Tokyo does, where Tokyo, Disney does not F around, guys. Like, not that I've ever been there, but in terms of just how well everything is and how amazing it all is. And
they're building it on an island. Like, how can it not be? I mean, that's the Abu Dhabi, like, shtick. Everything's on an island, but, like, how could it not be cool?
Mm-hmm.
The art is looking snazzy.
Yeah, for sure. And it will be really interesting to see, like, what cascading, if, like, I'm not going to say purse strings are off when you have a third party investor, but like if you have like that kind of investor, like what kind of technology and whatnot develops for this park, and like how that cascades to other parks around the world. I have my thoughts about the geographical location, and it makes sense. Like, the world's the percentage of the world population that's in that region does make some sense. At the same time, the location also leaves some to be desired based on the people who won't be able to go there, with different laws like surrounding that. So definitely interesting.
It's definitely making an interesting statement. That's for sure.
Yeah. It is, with a company that's been focusing on inclusivity, going somewhere where a lot of people aren't going to be able to go based on the values in that region.
What I find interesting, there is a lot of like discourse also about the like costs. Like, Disney's not paying for this park to be built, but they are designing it and being paid for that. So it's not like they may not be pulling from their 60 billion or whatever it is that they're supposed to be spending on enhancements and such to existing properties, but it is still a time sink from a time perspective and availability of their engineers. So like, it does limit, while they're working on that project, obviously certain engineers, Imagineers and stuff will be dedicated to that project, but it means that they can't also be working on stuff locally, even if they could be spending money on stuff locally. So I feel like they'll probably come up with some really cool stuff, but that means it's a really, really long timeline before we see any of it stateside.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see the R&D that comes out of this. And yeah, it'll be a 7th resort in park property in the world, which will be super. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
See if the risk pays off.
Yeah, for sure. We had a loss in the Muppet universe this week. Mama Melrose has officially closed.
It's so sad. It's sad for me because I only had the one experience and I thought it was great.
Those were such dank mozzarella sticks. I still think about them sometimes.
It was very, very good. I saw a TikTok this week when they did this past week when they did the final seating of guests, and they did like an honor walkway of like all the restaurant people all lined up on both sides, and they made a big announcement that they were seating the final guests ever and like walked them through the whole restaurant to seat them. It was very cute and very sad all at the same time.
Oh, what the heck? That's like yeah, cute and sad is definitely. I had to Google really quickly because I was pretty sure Pizza Rizzo isn't closing till it's not closing until the rest of Muppet Courtyard does. But I had to look it up real quick because there's still opportunities to get wrap pizza, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But that's crazy. That's crazy. I'm curious to where all those cast members are going to be deployed to throughout the parks. Because when we talked to our waiter, we didn't know. He didn't know. So, or he couldn't tell us, but I want to say he seemed pretty genuine, good Midwestern folk like the Pope. And he was like, yeah, I don't know yet. But at that time, it was still a good 6 weeks until closing. So makes sense. I guess it's all Muppety up in here today, besides the Abu Dhabi theme park. Disney announced that it is going to film Muppet Vision 3D for archival before it closes during like a cast member. I don't want to say preview because is this a post view? But cast member filming of it. So that'll be good. I know everyone is very curious as to how they're going to work with them up. They said that they are going to film them or like have it preserved in some way. Again, hoping hoping that somehow that means that it moves to where the villain show is going to be when the villains park open, Delulu. But they did announce that. So hopefully keeping some Muppet people satisfied in the way, if they're going to gut the Muppets and the ground Kermit himself walked on, I guess fine. Speaking of gutting the ground that Kermit himself walked on, that's Sweetums himself. The first Monstropolis construction permit was filed, and it seems like the old Muppets gift shop is going to be gone. They're taking down that building, so the stage 1 building is going to be gone. Gonzo. Laughs, you don't cry, 2025. But
I do think it'll make it a lot easier to move around that area because those alleyways, I guess, are quite narrow.
Yes.
Especially for now with it closing, it's getting more popular again, but like it wasn't really a problem with the level of popularity probably. But with a brand new ride going in, like that would be absolutely swamped. You would not be able to move in there.
No. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that area does develop. And I always love to see what they leave behind they always like nods to where.
What do you think the Easter eggs will be?
Ooh, I feel like whatever dining they have, like there's going to have to be a Rizzo or a rat of some sort. If they make it a Harryhausen's, there's going to have to be a rat of some sort, but it'll be interesting. Yeah, I feel like they're going to have some creative little spurts of things.
Yeah. I'm trying to like obviously they can hide a Rizzo somewhere, like that's going to be really cool. I'm trying to think of I was trying to figure out if there was some way to hide not the whole statue of Miss Piggy, obviously, but like stick her somewhere.
True. I
Funny.
wonder what they're doing with Miss Piggy Fountain. Like, that's like, it's pressing for me to know what they're doing with the fountain. But like, I wonder if like, I don't know, I could see them hiding like if they have anything with like Roz's like desk or office or whatever in the new ride, like I don't know, like a Statler and Waldorf because they're all grumpy. Uh yeah, I'll be curious to see what little Easter eggs we get when I massacre my boy Kermit.
Maybe one of the doors will open to Muppet Vision 3D, basically.
Oh,
You know?
yes.
Wouldn't that be brilliant?
Oh my god, that'd be so good.
Because, like, you kind of get the same thing in Muppet Vision 3D of, like, opening doors to different skits and stuff, sort of.
Yes.
What an
Oh.
integration. If you're listening, Disney, you're welcome.
Like you get Sam Eagle's glorious 3-hour finale. Got a minute and a half. Oh my, if they make a minute and a half.
That soundbite. You open the door, that soundbite, you see like a little feather sticking out or something.
Yes. Disney, we're giving you ideas. Also, like for when they refurb Rock and Roller Coaster.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my god, that would be, because I don't know how long the actual ride of Rock and Roller Coaster is, but it'd be really funny if they like shoot you off to, you got a minute and a half.
It is pretty it's not a very long ride.
No.
But it's pretty close. I wonder if let's do a little Google action. 1 minute and 22 seconds.
Boom!
So if they just make it an extra 8 seconds, or you do it, because there's also the countdown. I don't know if that's included.
Yes. Like while you're charging up, like while your car's moving a little backwards, and like you're saying, you got a minute and a half, and then pew.
Yeah.
Disney, come on, guys.
If you need some consultants, because you're busy sending everyone to Abu Dhabi, let us know. Or if you need some up and coming influencers to tour the ride at any point.
Yes. If you want me to count your beans, I'll count your beans. That came out weird, but
it did. Let's do a Disney fun fact.
Yes, I think that's probably more fun before I just dig the hole even further. So, on this day in 1992 was the opening and dedication of Fantasmic in Disneyland.
Woo!
So, happy 33rd birthday to Fantasmic.
Wow.
The Walt Disney World version came in 1998. Yeah, the rivers of America come alive at night. Quaint little setting that happens on Tom Sawyer Island, out on the left coast.
I still haven't seen it. We'll get out there someday. Ben just told me this week. He was saying like, oh, it'd be nice to finally go out to Disneyland. Like, we should book a race. And I'm like, well, you obviously haven't been listening to the news or the pod, because the last one, registration, just happened for a while. So,
oh, that's brutal.
He was a little upset. A little bummed. But also, like, we could not have made either Halloween or Disneyland half work, I don't think. So
yeah,
it's okay, but we'll figure it out in the future. I have that level of confidence that it will come back at some point.
Oh yeah. A lot of people think that it's gone. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that it's like gone forever. Like, I do think that there probably will be a little bit of an uphill battle, like getting Anaheim to sign back off on it, because it seems like that is some of the fighting that they've had in the past. But in terms of like Disney wanting to do it, like these are park fillers during otherwise uncrowded weekends. Remember, y'all, as much as runDisney has changed our lives for the better, it's not for our benefit. It's for the capacity benefit of the mouse. It's to sell rooms for the mouse. it's not that cynical. Like it's a benefit for, it's a little cynical, but I mean, that's really, I mean, Wine and Dine is always the best example of that, right? It's usually not this year, but it's usually the weekend between Halloween stuff and Christmas stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do to fill a weekend? You bring in runners who will probably extend their trips so that they can hit one or both. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's as much as we love it and it's for our benefit, it's also to fill weekends during downtimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have a hard time believing that as long as they can get those sign-offs from Anaheim, that they won't want to bring them back so that they can, there's no Oogie Boogie Bash usually during that Halloween weekend, which is still bizarre to me. But more down weekends in the wonderful world of the Disneyland, the locals park.
And speaking of it, we mentioned in the countdown that like we're getting close basically to the start of a new season with a new Disneyland race training cycle starting, and basically we're starting over again. And what do we have to do before we can start a new season? We need to wrap up the old season. we gotta cut our ties, I guess. Let you guys know how it went. So that's what we're doing today. We're gonna be talking through our season from 2024 to 2025. We're gonna talk about all the race weekends. We got some of your favorite memories from the race weekends. So if you shared them, they're coming up. And we'll be reflecting on, what we enjoyed, what surprised us, favorite costumes, lessons learned, some new stuff coming up in the future. So keep listening. Let's start with Wine and Dine.
And we're keeping this East Coast focused.
Yes, because we didn't run anything West Coast. So we don't have anything to report.
And nobody reported West
to
Coast
us either. Yeah.
So just know, Disneyland, we still love you, even if you're going away. But yeah, kicked off the season at Wine and Dine this year. It was my and Hannah's first time staying together for a race weekend. And we were at Port Orleans.
Whoop, whoop. My favorite place.
Yes. Nice homey place. This was another weekend where I feel like I let loose a little bit. And this was me trying to, hit all the characters, really spend my time on course. And it's always nice because of where this falls in my personal schedule with my work schedule, where it's about a week after our busy season wraps up. So in terms of me feeling like I need a break, having to, having a racecation scheduled right after then is really, really nice. And, it's a new year-ish in terms of my work-ish. But, and also a new season. So that's been fun to take part in each and every year that I've had the opportunity to do Wine and Dine, which I guess is twice so far.
This was my first Wine and Dine. I finally have run every single East Coast race weekend that Disney has. This solidified that for me, and it was really fun. It was last minute. I didn't register during the initial rush. I did it during a random drop notification. I signed up for the standalone half, which meant I didn't have to take too much vacation. I drove down after work one random Thursday.
Yeah.
I think.
On Halloween, you did.
Oh my gosh, yes. Ben was a little bummed that I wasn't home for Halloween, but and it was really, really fun I was only one race, so I only had to wake up early one time, and then the rest of it was just enjoying park time with my friends. So it was really fun. And you and I went, this is my favorite memory from that race weekend is we had only been doing the podcast for a few months at that point, not particularly long. And we ran into some of your friends at Satouli's and Animal Kingdom. And they asked if I was Hannah from the podcast. And I felt so cool. that anyone would refer to me as Hannah from the podcast or like recognize me in any kind of capacity whatsoever. So that was very fun, and it was kind of a nice like peek into what we were gonna see during Walt Disney World weekend, during marathon weekend, because we saw a lot of you guys during marathon weekend and Princess coming up after that. So it was a very fun kickoff to the season that I wasn't expecting to have.
For sure. I think being a non-playable character in the back of a Mammoth Club video in that same
Yeah.
'cause it was so funny because, like, that originally was our focus, and then I turned, I'm like, "Oh, that's Samantha, Holly, Kate," like, whatever it was people I knew, um, that we were all geeking out about the idea that we were gonna be in like, we were right by Molly and Alan filming.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was definitely a super fun, trip, a lot of fun memories. It was toasty that weekend, for sure, because Wine and Dine can always be kind of a mixed bag with weather. So sometimes it's really cold, sometimes it's rainy, sometimes it's humid, sometimes I my first Wine and Dine was, like, the perfect weather, like, 50s and, like, in the morning, got up to, like, the higher 70s. Ooh, chef's kiss. Beautiful weather, but this one was a little hotter, but not impossible to deal with.
Mhm.
Shall we go to marathon weekend?
Yeah. Uh Marathon weekend was this was my first marathon weekend also. I did a lot of firsts this season. Um like a lot. Basically everything every time. Like there was always stuff that was new. But Ben and I ran marathon weekend at Dopey. I can't believe that we did that. My parents came and supported us for the half and the full. I don't think they really believed that we were gonna, not in a bad way. They were very supportive, but they were skeptical because of how Chicago went that we were actually gonna do that, and like of how like amazing I felt at the end of Dopey. I still felt good. Like my feet hurt, don't get me wrong, but like I felt good. I immediately was like, yes, I will do this again. And I had fun the whole way. I enjoyed every race. The costumes were great. The weather was terrible. But Ben and I went to the parks every single day. We got to do most of the things we wanted to do. And it was just overall really fun. I think in the future, this next year, we're going to do a few things differently since we're doing standalone marathon. But for our very first marathon weekend, I am super happy with how it turned out.
Coming back to Adobe was definitely interesting. I knew I was the best prepared I've ever been for Dopey. So going into it with at least that and also not an ear infection, let me tell you, that was we were off to a good start. Having, not having had an ear infection. But it was definitely a weekend of it felt like I was like coming into my own in a lot of ways of just I don't even know how to describe it. This is a weekend where we definitely had more like, "Oh, hi Hannah and Natalie," or "Hi,"
Mhm.
like which it's so interesting. I always joke that I'm sorry if I was weird, but to me, it's something where I like it's not that I don't know what to do with myself. Like, okay, that's true too. But it's one of those where I'm like always so surprised that somebody wants to come find me
Mhm.
that like, oh, hi. Um, like it's kind of one of those like moments of like, oh, so like
People do
this
listen. Whoa.
it's not me just like replaying it like 6 times. But it's like people like want like just some of the things that we heard from that, especially I know we have one of our listeners, Shanda, was telling us how much that we inspired her marathon journey. She's like, I'm the first in line if you guys do a Patreon. I'm like, oh my Like I almost cried, and I had already was like emotionally charged because it was 10K day of dopey weekend, and like the end of the Run Fit Fab pop-up was little like emotional meditation. So like I was gonna cry again. And just knowing that it was one of those things where what we do matters, and like having like hearing like a tangible impact that we had on somebody else's training was, it's like indescribable. And then having a good marathon too was nice. Just, just coming into, I think by that point I wasn't feeling like, obviously, well, as training went on, like, because I went into training for my second dopey kind of like, it was imposter syndrome city, baby. Like it was, I think by this point, kind of like things going well, like things happening, things, like getting to experience it again as like a kind of like new and improved me over the last couple of years was definitely super duper special. And then getting to do it also with you and like seeing some of that through your eyes too. I don't think there's anything that can adequately prepare you for the first day of the expo during marathon weekend. Like nothing can prepare you
insanity.
For how wild it is. I remember during 23 looking at KG and I meeting up and going, what is this? Like how crazy it was there. But yeah, it's definitely, I don't know, like I feel like, again, this is like somewhat like, it's hard, but I feel like I changed. I don't know, there was a lot of stuff that changed about me, I don't know, that weekend. And it sounds corny, but I became besties with Jeff Galloway too. So like it like kind of really solidified that ritual that I have though with like, okay, Jeff, I'm going to talk to you the day before the full. Yeah, I think that there's just being able to, I don't know, I feel like this is the first marathon I've fully raced too, where my first one, completion, second one, I think I did race more of it toward the end-ish, but I was just kind of like, well, I got pooped on by clouds and rained on. Yes. At mile 9, and I have a lot more to go. And like I definitely was like pushing for time by the end of that because I felt really good and whatnot. This is the first one where I kind of felt like I really like executed a pretty good race strategy, and like to the point where when I was messaging my mom on when she needed to be at the finish line, like I was like, here's like what my split, whatever. I was like, yes, but I'm like a negative split girly, so just know that I would be there before 10, and I finished at like 10 o'clock on the dot.
Nice.
So yeah,
it was a good experience.
It sure was. I could have dealt with it being like a pinch warmer, but I'd say by Marathon Sunday, it was cold waiting for it to start, but I wouldn't have wanted it much warmer if I'm being real with you.
No, it was perfect. Like the rest of the weekend was frigid. The half was rainy and too hot.
It's steamy.
Stupid. And then I was so traumatized from being cold my entire marathon for Chicago that even though the weather was almost identical to Chicago, I convinced myself to wear long sleeves during the marathon. And I think looking back now, I should have worn the short sleeves and then just worn my arm sleeves on for like the first half and then taken them off, because I did get hot by the end. And that was when I realized that like it was really gonna happen. I was really gonna, like, in my head I was always gonna do it, but I was really miserable there for a while after like from like mile 13 or 14 to mile like 20-ish maybe. And I wasn't like, I was convinced I was going to do it, but I thought, oh, it's like all slipping away. It's going to take me forever. And then that last 5K, I just like booked. And I really wished I was in short sleeves then.
I wish I was in short sleeves from like hitting Western Way on.
Yeah.
That was, I think, when the drink a cup of Powerade, dump a cup of water shtick, as horrified volunteers are near me. I made sure I like aimed it away from them, or like I didn't dump until I was away from them, but they kind of looked at me like, how? Because they're in their coats freezing.
Yes.
And I'm like, dying
Mm-hmm.
with like the heat. Well, not that it was like heat. I was just obviously toasty
I
from,
mean,
you
you
know,
were
running
hot.
a
You were
marathon.
putting in a lot of effort.
That I was.
You were booking it. You were going so fast. I remember you like sending me updates and then obviously the updates dying out, but like of where you were as I was coming out of Magic Kingdom and stuff and being like, oh my gosh, she is just flying.
Yeah, my ill-advised from 10 to 13.1, where that was I was like, oh, well, what if I just try to get here by this point? And they're like, what if I just try to get here by this point? And then like I looked at my splits, I'm like, oops. Yeah, it was definitely something where I really felt like I could really lean into like my race, my pace
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. And it was, I don't know, like I talk about the garment of shame sometimes. And it was one of those things where I was going to be really happy if I got to the estimated finish time that the Garmin had for me on the marathon.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was still a PR. That was like a 25-minute PR, still like really freaking awesome. But I also smashed that. I cut a lot more off of what it had said. And then it was like, just kidding. We said this instead. Rude. Do not move the goalposts on me. Rude. It's as rude as when it tells me to move with an exclamation point after I just ran a marathon. Let a girl live, okay? Let a girl live. But it was one of those things where also like the moments when I felt like I was almost moving backwards, like, and then you look at the splits later, it's like, oh, you were still cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, after mile 20, there's nothing until the finish line of like to measure where you're at.
It's hard.
Again, I knew kind of where I was. And, you know, I had that goal number in mind. And then as I inched closer and closer, I'm like, well, what if I can get like 1 minute less? What if I can get 1 minute less? What if I can get 1 minute less? Like, what if I like just like chipping away slowly but surely at that? And I was like, well, like, what if?
Mm-hmm.
What if? And then I turned those what ifs into the reality, and definitely made me appreciate everything that I went through to get to that moment too. Of, you know, the early mornings, you know, like I need to put this boundary in place with this because I have to get this done. Obviously, at this point, I'm sure that there's no other way I would spend my birthday than running like 10 miles. I could do with it being like 7, though, 6 or 7. That's a little better than 10. But you know, it's one of those where I was getting phone calls for my birthday, and I'm like, oh, you're like, oh, what you doing? Like, I'm running. It's mile 7 of my 10 miler for the day. But it definitely validated a lot of the sacrifice that I had put in and like the different times. Definitely in being in tune with my body too. It was cool to see that like really just come to life. Thinking of the marathon finish line just gave me like full body chills. Because I remember I stopped my watch and then I immediately go to runner tracking because my watch will say one thing, but it doesn't matter unless it's what runner tracking says. And I was like seeing the time. I was like, oh my God, I just PR'd by almost 32 minutes. Like, what the heck? Like,
It was a big season for PRs for us.
it really was. Where, yeah, like I didn't, you know, you get COVID like 3 weeks before a marathon. It's like, okay, LOL.
I can't believe we both got COVID.
I know. And like just to emphasize, we hadn't seen each other in like a month, and we both got the cocoa within like a couple days of each other.
Yep.
So it's not like we were like hanging out, like, you know, no, I was in the Midwest and Hannah was in the South. Like we were not together and we both got it. Yeah. And it really, I don't know, that a PR like that made me, I don't know. It's like a dream bigger type thing, you know, like when you get passed by the pacer and you're like, oh, no effing way, I'm going to actually be able to, and then you pass them again before the finish. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, so it wasn't out of my reach. It's wild.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wild feeling.
Should we hear from some of our listeners?
Yes.
We should get them to record them as like voice memos in the future.
Wait, yes, we totally should.
So Carissa wrote in and she said, the change in the marathon course that let me grab my favorite Epcot drink, the Ottawa Apple. Oh, by the way, we asked people to tell us their favorite memories. That's what these are. So she said, she said that. And then plus it was the first time my mom was able to come watch me run a marathon. Oh, it was also very special spectating the half with her on Main Street and being able to shop in a nearly empty emporium. P.S. If a spectator's phone dies before you finish, you can go to the info tent and have a cast member call you to meet them there if you haven't worked out a plan beforehand. That is a top tip.
Clutch.
It's like basically pretend you're a lost child.
I am a small lost child. And then Jeff said, crying at the finish line of the half marathon this year, since that was my first ever half since last year, so 2024's dopey half was cut in half. This race had me more worried than the actual full marathon for some reason, LOL, which is so real. So real. The half is what could not do you in, but like you overanalyze everything in the half for dopey.
Mm.
Probably for Goofy, but can't relate because half of a half. But you overanalyze everything. It's like, oh, I feel like butt, and it's only mile 4. What am I supposed to feel like tomorrow when I have a lot more to do?
Mm-hmm.
And don't get in your own head. I'd say the Marathon Sunday sillies were absolutely wonderful after taking our sweet time at Storybook Dining.
Mm.
And I hate that I'm establishing this precedent, not hate because it's fun, but that I need to go to Magic Kingdom and get on the carousel to see how my legs are doing
Oh no. Mm-mm.
on Marathon Sunday. But it's one of those things where there's just that serenity to like riding the carousel. It's just the whole getting on and getting off part
Mm-hmm.
that it's like, wow, like
I can't
carousel.
believe you could go anywhere, period. I was so zonked by the time we got done with dinner. All I wanted to do was go to sleep. And Ben and I stopped to go to the bathroom outside Magic Kingdom when you guys went in, and I was just like, absolutely not.
Oh, my mom didn't even go in. It was just me.
Wow.
It was
Where did she go?
She went back to the resort.
Oh yeah, she didn't have a jacket.
Yeah, you're right. I was like, why didn't she? Oh, because she was cold. But yeah, I think I waited like 20 minutes for Seven Doors Mime Train too. So that again shook. And then got actually really incredible, like one of my very favorite medal photos I've ever gotten.
That was very cute.
She's like, bite the medal like an Olympian. I'm like, huh? And then she's like, no, do it like this. And then the second one was better. Or like the balancing on 1 foot challenge for after you ran a marathon that day. Woo, baby. Woo, baby. But no, it was so just fun. And I know it's like, well, I got to do it again. Well, I guess I didn't go to after my first one. I didn't go to Magic Kingdom. I was at Hollywood Studios. We thought about it. And then leaving Fantasmic, Maz and I was like, the footsies, they're done. We're done. Like, I can't. I was like, my heart wants to, my legs don't. I'd say also getting that little bonus afternoon that I got to based on Travel Frazzle was incredible because it was like an accidental like 4-park day casually.
All right. Should we move on to Princess?
Oh, I'm so ready to move on to Princess.
I had so much fun during Princess. I didn't have like, it was like such a weird weekend because what a way to start. Because Marathon, I'd been like hyping up for months and months and months and months. And I was really excited for Princess because it was going to be it's actually the only race weekend I've ever done twice. And I was excited about that. But then also post Dopey, I was just so tired.
True.
So like training wasn't terrible, but also wasn't amazing. And life started getting very chaotic around that time. So I was just really like a little nervous going in, knowing that we were doing the challenge. And it ended up being so great. I worked a little bit while we were there. I was sort of like working and I wasn't vacationing. Like, I don't think I took any vacation days for Princess. So that part was really chaotic. But for the races, they all went so well. I had so much fun. I got to walk the 5K with Bob.
Iconic.
It was amazing. We talked the whole time. And then for the 10K, I don't even remember, but like
we didn't start together, but we were
ended up together.
Because I was in the very first character line and you caught me really fast.
Oh yeah, like way faster than I thought I was going to catch you. And it was a good race, and like listeners found us on course, which was cool. That had never happened before. And then for the half, I PR'd, which I hadn't been planning on. Like I started that race fully planning on just like having fun.
Catwalk.
Casual. I walked the first mile with KG, like super casual. It's just like, all right, this is how it's going to be. And then once I left KG, I don't know what happened, but I just turned it on. I don't know. My pace was so consistent. It's probably the best race I had all season. It was just super consistent. I was pretty dang fast. I had the time of my life. I can't believe like it happened. I was ahead of Cece for a while. I was listening to Cece behind me and I was like, I cannot let Cece catch me. Cannot do it. And I didn't. Like I could hear him from basically all of Cone Alley until I got to Magic Kingdom. And once I got to Magic Kingdom, never heard his voice ever again. Never. And then it just like kept going. I couldn't believe I kept going until I had to pee. And then I slowed down a little bit because it's really hard to keep running fast when you need to pee.
True.
But I learned my lesson there was like, it was a lot better than Marathon Weekend. I didn't mention this, but in Marathon Weekend, I went to the bathroom in every single park during the marathon. And we made more than one stop because Ben and I were running together for the marathon and he had to go to the bathroom at different times that I had to go to the bathroom. So we made multiple stops in some of the parks.
And still
and
PR'd.
Porta potties. Yes, and still PR'd. But for Princess, like I had for the half, like I said, no plan. I'd made one bathroom stop in Magic Kingdom and then thought I was going to have to make another one in Hollywood, I guess. But I just basically, was it Hollywood? Epcot? I don't know. It's like a blur. I can't remember any of the course maps. This is why we got to look at them while we do
That's what I'm here for.
While we talk about them. But I ended up like just stopping taking as much water and Powerade, and I was like fine. The feeling went away. I got faster again. I finished the race. I didn't have to I wasn't dying the entire bus ride back. That was a miracle. And how much time did I cut off? Like 11 minutes or something?
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
And that's off of your like splits out of Chicago.
Yeah.
Not even like a standalone half.
Yes.
Like, well, not that we do
that
standalone halves.
That was my second standalone half. No, third, I guess, because Wine and Dine. I had never done a standalone half or a half period outside of Chicago Marathon until this season.
Princess in 24.
Did I?
Yeah, the Princess Challenge in 24. This is what I'm here for.
Oh,
guys. This is how I stay on payroll.
I don't know what I run. I don't know. Oh, yeah.
This is how I stay on payroll.
Ben and I did standalone half for Princess last season. That's true.
You did the challenge, but you've done a half marathon. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I really don't know what I run.
This is how I earn my keep.
I can't remember anything. It's okay. Anywho, yeah, it was a really good half. It's a really good half. And I felt really good at the end too. Like I really kicked it, but I was really pushing the whole time. And I just feel like there's a lot of room for improvement still. So be on the lookout.
Bolo, baby. So this was a race weekend and I am a Princess stan. So y'all should know that about me. If somehow this is your first episode listening, oh boy. But I feel like I'm saying that more often. But I'm a Princess stan. I love Princess Weekend. It was what started this all for me. I love I feel like I always encounter women who are willing to fix each other's crowns. It's very much a girl power, good and empowering vibe. And going into Princess this year, I was having a little bit of a rough time with some stuff. I had some personal stuff going on, and just I got like late onset dopey downers this year. And like literally it was like confidently saying like, I didn't really get the dopey downer. And then they just absolutely whacked me.
Karma.
Yeah, no kidding. So yeah, I went into Princess Half Weekend with like some, again, excited to be there, excited to see friends, and excited to, be in the environment that I, wanted to be in. And it gave me a lot of things that I was glad I got kind of leaving it. So being able to, I remember the 5K was a ton of fun. Had one of my like best character interactions ever with the stepsisters and stepmother. We were fighting over my wand because I was the fairy godmother. The 10K, we had a ton of fun just kind of hanging out during that time, when you like immediately caught me. And then going into the half, I figured that like my best case scenario, because it was the idea that I was like, I'd like to, what I say, renew my proof of time. I'm not going to run a PR. I was feeling kind of beat up from dopey still. Not in the way that like I was having any pain or anything, but just like in terms of trying to make the legs move. This is why I can't remember if I did a speed workout in 2025 yet. I'm sure I did, actually. If I looked at the archives, I'm sure I did. But I don't remember doing one because I just didn't feel like, but it was one of those things where I was able to trust in my preparation up until that point. Like I didn't lose that much fitness and I just cooked throughout it. I executed a race plan and I was proud of the effort that I put into that. And knowing that like obviously it was, I don't even want to say it was an off day for me because I had a really great race. It was one of those where it was like everything going into it and I still was able to do things that I never thought I was going to be able to do. Right? Like things like, cash, like renewal of POT, like while your body feels like it's in pieces from dopey. Like stuff like that where it highlighted the growth that I've gone through, the ability to kind of put some stuff aside and kind of focus on something positive and something good. And stuff like that. So like I feel like Princess healed me. But no, Princess did renew like, like one of those, like I feel good about this. And, this is what it was, something I needed in that time. And like, again, being in a supportive surrounding place with tons and tons of women, not to say it was only women there, but like mostly women. It healed a little piece of some of what was kind of going on in my life. Had my prince, my cheerleader back home in Mr. Natalie, but it was good to kind of be able to get away and get through just some stuff there. And then I also got to see my cousins, so Maz and her sister Chloe.
They were so fun.
That was great.
Those are some of my favorite photos from that whole trip. We went and met them at the parks later, and we got some really cute pictures together.
We really did. I love them.
And I would like to just say, I am not biologically related to any of you, but I feel pretty certain that if you showed someone the photo, they would think we were all related.
Oh, for sure. You definitely like especially with Chloe there, because Chloe has blue eyes, like lighter eye. Like Maz and I look very similar. We both have darker eyes or whatever. We legitimately were mistaken for sisters. We've been mistaken for sisters so many times, but like you and Chloe tie together so well that it's like, yeah, you probably could. I could probably convince that like you definitely are related to us. But it was great. It was just Princess healed me. And it's funny because it's like I felt like there was certain things of like acceptance of like, okay, like I said that like I was feeling a little beat up and stuff before Princess, in terms of like just my body still healing from dopey and like a race effort, and was able to pull that off. And I was like, like I really think that this means that it's going to be a no-go on dopey for next year.
The lies we tell ourselves.
Yeah, still at marathon weekend did I, or sorry, still at Princess weekend did I go, well, I guess we're in for another one. So I think that it was certain things of acceptance, being able to trust myself, like I don't know, just certain things of like obviously going into the next year. I don't know, I think it's changed my outlook on some of how I'm going to be training this year, of like it's okay if this isn't, like it's crazy that I'm gonna look at dopey and like that is gonna be my B race. Literally insane actually, but that's kind of how I have to look at it.
And then you closed out the season with Springtime Surprise.
Oh wait, we have some listener stuff for this one first. Can't be I'll start with Grayson's. So swollen hands and fake smile for me at mile 13 of the Princess half. Relatable, bestie, relatable. And the feeling that I was going to throw up, pass out, or both. Yet somehow my bestie taking this picture pushed me to 13.1 and we finished. Can't wait to train well and cross the finish line smiling instead of crying next year, or smile crying.
Happy tears. We love them. Grayson was one of I would just like to say this for the record. Grayson was one of the very first people who really started like not just like listening obviously and following, but like messaging us a lot, which we love. Please message us. We love getting to know you guys and like following your journeys. And Grayson was asking us so many questions, and we were like watching her journey and stuff, and things fell off the rails a little bit, as they do. And we were just so excited to see, Grayson, that you actually like did the thing, and that I'm so happy that you had your bestie there to help you get through it, and that you did the hard thing. And I'm just really proud of you. Congrats.
She was definitely somebody I had on runner tracking, because I was like, okay, like I'm so excited to see how this goes for her. So it was one of those where like while we were packing up our Saratoga room, like I wasn't like actively like tracking, but it was one of those where I was like, oh yay, she did finish. Like just know that there's a good chance that like I am tracking you on runner tracking. If I
not to be creepy or anything, but if you've ever interacted with us, we want to be your friend, and this is how we do it.
Remember when I said I'm sorry I was weird? We're sorry if I was weird. Yeah, no. But no, it was one of those where, especially like first times, because I think, and I'm not sure if I've told this story on the podcast yet. I might have, but Once Upon a Marathon messaged me during my first full, and I think I got her message right after I hit the halfway point, and I didn't know she was going to track me, and I got like a message from her saying like, you're doing great, blah 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 blah, and like the feeling of just the uplift of like, oh my god, like just like the messages from home and stuff like that, like you messaging me, other people messaging, whatever, and like how that felt for me to know that like there were people who were invested in my story too, like of like how I did in the marathon. So I try to like be that fairy for other people. Like I like, well, we'll get to my boundary crossing during the Boston Marathon tracking this year for KG later. But
we'll do that when we have her on, so people can know we're not insane.
Yes.
I'm getting teary just like listening to you talk about how much like our listeners and stuff, like we don't see you as our listeners, we see you as all of our like new friends basically.
Besties. Yeah, besties.
Because we're super invested in every single one of you. We want everyone to succeed and have a great time and enjoy this amazing experience that we're all doing. So
yeah,
we love you guys.
Yeah, like I want to see like how you like how you did, how your summer, even if it's like, hey, I took a break and like I took like a 2-month break for my mental health and now I'm ready to get back at I want to see that too, right? Like if you like is making good like choices that make you happy and you feel whole too. Like we're very supportive of that. Doesn't have like or hey, I'm actually hanging up the running shoes for a minute because I don't want to do this. That's great.
I've decided
Like
I
we're
love
very invested.
pickleball now. Great, bestie. We're so proud of you.
Exactly. Exactly. So we're kind of we're definitely we're very grateful to like have this community and just, you know, just know I be dragging. Like I'm waiting for your finish line picture. And even if it's not, I don't know, even if it's not I'm here to like also offer a shoulder to cry on if it doesn't go the way you want it to. Always. I definitely I'm very sympathetic to those who also go out there and they give it their all. And even if that doesn't result the way you want it to, we're definitely here to support every aspect of that journey.
All that matters is that you try. No shame in any result.
Yeah.
All right. And then we also have one from Jess. Jess says, medal photos after the Princess Fairy Tale Challenge. Prior to Dopey, number 2, that has been the only Run Disney challenge I've completed at Run Disney race weekend. So this was, okay. So the only challenge she's ever done had been Dopey. And she did another challenge. Okay. That's awesome. I love Princess. There's so many
Same.
friends.
It's
It's
just
such a vibe.
it's just when you walk into the expo and like I feel like the serotonin that just rushes through my body. It's like we are so back, baby. We are so back. It just feels right. Princess just is always a mood and it feels right to be there. Even when like things are a dumpster fire and you feel like it's wrong, it's so right. Yeah.
All right. Tell us about how you rounded out your season while you were at Springtime Surprise. I was surprising everyone by buying a house.
Yeah. So in the least surprising thing ever that I ended up at Springtime Surprise, that was something that was executed during Princess Weekend. I got a charity bid with Team Force, and I was like, "Let's go, let's do it." And Springtime Surprise. So I had done the first 2 years of Springtime. I couldn't do it last year because I was buying a house. Actually,
We take
which that
turns.
yeah, we're gonna be off this next year though. So I feel like I went into this one. This one I took full vacation for, and that was the first time I had been like off for a weekend in since before I had this job, the job I currently have. So that was nice. Like the laptop stayed at home. Like, let me tell you, that was so nice to the laptop was stayed home and I was just fully off and not a thing to worry about. So definitely a very toasty weekend. It was something where I pushed myself out of my comfort zone quite a bit more, where when I got the late springtime bib, I saw something that actually Jess had posted of, oh, like join our group costume. Like, cool. I have not a single idea in my head. So great. I'm going to do that. And it was so fun. It was like people who like I had interacted with on socials, but didn't really know that well. I had met Jess before at the Run Fit Fab pop-up that January. And we had talked to her. We had her on the pod. So doing the, Elsa and Anna strong bar crawl was how I really opened, or the monorail crawl was how I like opened up the weekend. And yes, I did stand there like an NPC kind of awkwardly because I wasn't sure that was my group yet. But in terms of, just putting myself out there a little bit more, I did realize that yes, like my crazy bedtimes and whatnot have a purpose because I was fighting for my life. At the end of 5K day because it was a full blown sleep by the pool. Full blown sleep, like didn't know where I was when I woke up. Like, am I in Nebraska? Am I in Florida? Am I in Illinois? Am I in Ohio? I don't know. Type of nap. And springtime brought so much joy and just, again, pushing the comfort zone and the boundaries of, I committed to the dead last start thanks to Jess. I did the dead last start. It was one of those things where my training between Princess and Springtime was even probably worse than it was between Dopey and Princess. But I did what I could. And just being able to kind of just have like races that I was proud of. I'm proud of the effort for. And just have a really good time. The 10 miler, I was an accidental PR. The just Natalie things. And it wasn't really something I went in intending to really do, but during the race was like, maybe I could. But I think it was just finding the joy and within the weekend, and kind of, you relax a little bit more when you've been through all this training, and also just knowing that it's like, oh, this is the last time we're going to see each other as a collective runDisney community for like a hot minute, until the fall, and right now until Dopey. So kind of just soaking up the experience and for everything it's worth, and just kind of enjoying it, kind of like a kiss goodnight to the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really quite wonderful. It was hot, but it was nice to also, like, I'm a pool rat through and through. So being able to like sit by the pool, be in the pool, like while I went to the water park, I went to Blizzard, and I don't know, I always enjoy that already. Feels like a little bit more vacation-y when I, then ruin my vacation by waking up at 2 a.m. For said vacation. But yeah, it was definitely like a joyful weekend.
That's awesome. And then we have a lovely memory from Brandy. She said she loved her pull on the yellow strap costume for Springtime Surprise. If you've ever ridden a roller coaster ever, you understand you have to pull on the yellow strap and show them that you're secure. She said racing with the Rise and Run crew for the springtime was an amazing way to finish her perfect season. So much joy.
It was such a good costume.
It was.
I laughed so hard every time I saw it. That was like probably one of my like best of the season. If you know, you know.
Yeah. These are the kind of costumes that I want to be able to come up with, but somehow like either I'm just not that creative, very possible, or like you don't come up with it until after the fact, and you're like, dang. And when I see other people's, I'm like, wow, they've got it.
Yeah, I love the creativity, because then, like, when your base is just yellow clothing, which you may or may not have anyway, it's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of costumes that really were spectacular this whole season, really. Tell me, what surprised you? What race weekend surprised you the most this year?
Definitely Wine Dine, because it was my first time there. So like I didn't really know what to expect. I've never been to a race weekend with a party, and I was hesitant because it did sound fun, but also we wake up so early that I was like, how am I supposed to be functional that late? I'm not a college kid anymore. I cannot nap and rally like that.
Amen.
And so I was a little nervous, but I got there. I was definitely tired. Do not get me wrong. And did think about noping out early. But then I ended up being able to ride. I never got on Guardians, unfortunately. However, I was able to ride both the Frozen Ever After, whatever it's called, ride, and I rode Ratatouille, and there was no line. I've waited in for Frozen for a little bit, and then it shut down, and I thought I wasn't going to get to ride it, and it was the last thing I rode of the night, and there was no line. Like straight up walk straight onto the ride vehicle. Almost went into a ride vehicle all by myself without anyone else in it. Walk on. And it was very fun. And I was very glad that I got to do that, and not really have to wait in the lines that you get during the day. I did, however, for sure, like, not take advantage of the fact that Food and Wine was still going on. Like, there are so many foods that I wanted to try, and just because of how that weekend went, because I wasn't really taking much vacation and I didn't really take advantage during the party, like, I just never really had the opportunity to try out all the food of the festival. So next time I go, I have to prioritize festival time.
True. Which gets so hard during a race weekend,
Mm-hmm.
especially like during Princess with like that was the closing ceremony for farts. So like
It was chaotic.
busy. Busy. I'd say that springtime surprise surprised me the most this year, where I was completely fine with the idea that I had not been into a park. I
Oh
got
my
down on
gosh.
Wednesday. The only park I had been into was Blizzard Beach. In I didn't go to a park on Expo Day because I spent hours at the expo, which was so fun because I had the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I didn't go into a park till Friday during the 5K, of course, but then also during I went to Hollywood Studios later that day. So it was one of those like things where I had just had so much fun,
Mm-hmm.
and it was it was chaotic for sure, of just but in the best way possible, of just enjoying things. And it's hotter than normal, so like you gotta but I think that it definitely renewed my like, appreciation for springtime surprise, because I feel like obviously it can get a little bit, well, it's always hot.
Mm.
Like that's the what like that is like the one guaranteed weekend that it's in Florida that it's going to be hot.
If it's not, we should all start getting really, really concerned about the climate change situation.
True. Um, it was the first one I had. It was the first time that we didn't have like some sort of like rain warning for like a springtime surprise, at least that I had participated in. I don't really know how 24 went, but I remember like, yeah, it was so much fun, and I felt like I met a lot of people, or like finally got to meet some people or a bunch of people in person that I hadn't gotten to meet before,
Mm-hmm.
or like had like always like kept like missing like barely. So it was great to like just it was just that final hurrah. It was like the week, it's like after finals, but before you have to move out of your dorm, as we described it.
Yeah. What do you think your best and worst costumes were this season?
Ooh, this is so hard because I feel like there's some recency bias to this, because I'm gonna say my best was Jane,
Mm-hmm.
mostly because there were so many people who were like, "You are the first Jane that I saw all day." I was like,
It's pretty
"Wow."
impressive at a Run Disney race to like not have seen lots of other people in the same costume as you.
And that was from cast members.
Oh.
Yeah, people who are manning like the photo stop in front of Guardians, people who are like the photo stop in Epcot. Like, it's like, really?
Hmm.
This isn't even a deep cut.
Mm-mm.
Particularly. But yeah, it was kind of recency bias. And it's funny because like every year I have a costume that I wish went better. And there are probably still ones that like can tweak them a little bit, but like this one, I don't know, I ate this year. I don't have any like worsts, um, really this year. Obviously, again, there's always things you can tweak a little. There's always things that you could, I could have probably been warmer for the cold races in January and February. But in terms of like, would I like feel like I had like a bad costume? No,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I felt like this year I don't know, I did a good job. Maybe, I guess, if anything, maybe Cusco from springtime, because I didn't like well, I knew it was a 5K, so I could probably suffer through anything for a 5K. So in terms of like pinning down the hat on my head, I was like, yeah, I'll figure it out. But it wasn't a bad costume. A lot of people thought it was funny. A lot of people like made an Emperor's New Groove reference to me. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a good costume. So I didn't have any bad ones this year. How about you?
I think my best one, I have like two takes on my best one because one of them was accidentally my best one, and that's my puppy costume, which was like planned. I planned to be a puppy for the group costume with Rise and Run, but I didn't plan on the outfit that I ended up wearing. I had planned on, I got the t-shirt that there was a big group order of. Um, But then once the weather forecast came out, it was going to be really cold, and it really was. It wasn't just that they said it was, it really genuinely was cold AF.
Yes.
And so I had emergency ordered a puppy, like, Dalmatian onesie off of Amazon the week before, and it came maybe a day or two before we went on the trip. And I brought it, and I basically brought a hot and cold version of every single costume for marathon weekend because I just didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked out really well, thankfully. And I was super warm. I had so many. I wore like the warm layer under the onesie, so I was layered up. I had pockets in it. I had all my like all these places to stuff hot hands, and I was just a lot cozier than most people in that race. I was actually colder during the 10K than I was during the 5K, even though it was colder during the 5K, just because my costume wasn't as weather friendly. But I think the cutest one was my half for Goofy, because I had a skirt I already used. It was mostly color and stuff, but I really liked my ears, which I got off a shop on Etsy. It was just really cute. I felt really cute. I got good pictures, so that helps when you look back and like think about the costumes if the pictures turn out well. I think my worst is my princess half, even though obviously that race was amazing because there literally wasn't a costume. I had nothing planned for princess. It was all just like color blocked things. So for the half, I ended up wearing a long sleeve gray shirt and my black running shorts and a like purple bow in my hair, and that was the whole vibe, was just like purple bow, purple visor, purple sunglasses, which is not a costume, but that's what it's got to be. Like, it really wasn't a costume. So yeah.
Like, I give myself a runner up that I can't believe I looked over, but I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up my Wine Dine 10K costume, considering I was Mary Poppins, like chimney sweep Mary Poppins. And
Your poor
not only,
shirt.
oh yeah, yeah, that was Sweat City. And my little white tank top is now a very pale pink tank top. But that's okay because I have more than one, first of all. Secondly, yeah, because the fabric or the red jacket bled. But not only did I get recognized later that day as "Weren't you Mary Poppins this morning?" I got recognized during marathon weekend as "Weren't you Mary Poppins during Wine and Dine?" So I think that I can't not bring up Step in Time Mary Poppins as a pretty, I don't even know if I could call her runner up. It's probably a tie with Jane.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
And it was stuff I mostly already had because I had done that as a Halloween costume. I had done it for Princess in 23 so I had the hat and that stuff. I did a Halloween costume last year with Mr. Natalie where we were Bert and Mary from Step in Time. And then I kind of upped it for a race weekend. So definitely was a good one. And I obviously am obsessed with Mary Poppins. So it's a good one. So I feel like we say a lot of our just stories like off, like, I don't know, like there's nothing off limits. There are some, but in terms of our like behind the scenes moments, like, I don't know, like I'll embarrass myself, like Hannah hovering over me to wake me up for the 5K during Wine and Dine, like wakey wakey, because I needed it. Where she tried the gentle ones and then she had poked me and that got me. But in terms of behind the scenes moments,
there isn't much unless you want to know like our getting ready routine or something, and we've talked about that too, so I don't really know what there is to talk about. But Natalie and I both thought of what we thought was like quote unquote the funniest behind the scenes moment, and we came up with the same one, so we figured we would share it, even though I think we've shared it before.
yeah.
And that is from marathon weekend, the morning of the half. Natalie and I both had a like oopsie kind of moment. Natalie had it all laid out, all planned, and still managed to leave her fuel behind.
Yeah.
And
it got left on the chair that I was putting my shoes on.
And Ben and I I don't know if it was in the forecast or not, but like we had ponchos in the room, many ponchos in the room, and did not bring them with us for half morning. And it rained. Like it was totally dry. And then as we were coming around the bend, when you can sort of see all the corrals and stuff, and it starts drizzling and raining and coming down, and we were like, dang it. And we're trying to cover ourselves with our Mylar. And I've got Natalie's stuff, and I'm like, we're getting soaked. There's no way she's still waiting for us at this point. She probably just has decided to go to, because we were also running late. I was kind of surprised. I mean, that's why I was able to bring you more fuel.
Mm-hmm.
So I had brought Natalie more fuel, and we essentially exchanged fuel for ponchos because Natalie had extra ponchos on her person. So yeah.
Marathon weekend last year changed me, where I am sufficiently paranoid that if there is a chance of rain now, oh baby, there's a poncho. Well, I've washed my hydration vest since then, but I would say that there's one that lives in the hydration vest.
Yeah.
I'm sufficiently paranoid.
Ben still waited for a while after you gave us the ponchos to actually put his poncho on. And by the time, because he was so focused, we need to take our gear check bags to be checked in. And he was so focused on like getting over there so that he could write his number and stuff on it, because he didn't have that before, that he wasn't prioritizing it. And I prioritized putting on the poncho. So then he was so wet, and the poncho, have you ever tried to put a poncho on when you're already wet and it's windy and stuff? Like, we couldn't get the poncho really to open up. We were struggling to find the arm and head holes. Like, honestly, it looked probably like I was trying to murder him with how like much it was clinging, to his body. And we did manage to get it on, but it was windy, and it was a tough go. And then we found out we didn't even need to have our numbers on our bags because all the Sharpies had stopped working. So yeah, that's kind of our like funny moment. We don't have very like much that's, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I can't think of, unless like us getting the room packed up after after the half princess.
Yeah,
because we were switching to resorts.
That was chaotic for sure. You had to go get the like cart, and we were both still like packing stuff up, and that was a little stressful. And then trying to play Tetris with all of the bags, because you first of all, you put a roller bag on its roller feet onto a rolling cart, and I was like, no, we cannot do that. It's gonna roll away.
Yeah, I would have learned the hard way.
So then, yeah, we had a little engineering discussion about weight distribution.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest pain, trying to bring that cart up to the front. It took both of us guiding the cart to make sure that we made it to the front. And then that poor Bell Services person who had to count and also reorganize our bags. Not just like distribution. Like, all the big bags were fine, but then like you had tied your shoes to the outside of your bag, and that wasn't really gonna work for her. So you had to,
which makes sense. So they can keep positive control on it.
So you had to take it out, and like they had extra bags, and we had to count everything up. How many bags did we have?
13. I think it was 13.
Yeah, because it's like your bags count. Our case of water bottles count as a bag. We had to put shoes in a bag because they didn't fit in the other bags. Like, all random loose stuff ended up into additional bags. Not everything was like very concise because we were just going from one to another. But yeah, I felt a little bit bad about that.
Yeah. Oops.
But we did make it out. We did make it out of the room with time to spare.
We had plenty of time. Yeah.
More than half an hour, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were
Whereas when Ben and I were packing up from marathon weekend, we literally knew we weren't going to make it if we tried to make multiple trips to like bring stuff to our car. So we literally everything was packed, but we didn't even have a Bell cart yet. We literally just put everything that was in our room out into the breezeway so that when it changed over to 11 or noon or whatever time we had to be out by, that it was all out of the room, because while we were packing, they reset the TV while we were in there because we were watching A Bug's Life, and all of a sudden it turned off. So we were like, oh, shoot, we got to get out.
Yeah. Brutal.
Checkout times are hard. But we've learned a lot this season. I think like my biggest like training lessons were, I mean, considering you just did your first speed workout, this feels timely. But speed workouts really give me like a lot of confidence, actually. They can also make you feel like you're totally off track. But for the most part, I think they make me feel really confident that like if I can achieve those speeds and I don't feel like I'm completely dying, which is usually what happens, honestly. Usually I surprise myself in a speed workout with what I'm actually capable of. That I really like those. And that if you stick to your plan and find someone you trust, aka Kristen in Run Fit Mama We Trust, the whole season just goes so much better because we got COVID and she helped us come up with modifications to the plan.
Yeah.
She helps with all the things that I was so uncertain of when I was trying to train for my first race alone. And I don't think I can ever go back now. So those are my big lessons: is do your speed work and find someone you trust. And also I need to do more strength training this year. I think that's probably something
Don't
I'll
we
do
all?
differently. Yeah, I need to do more strength, actually do my strength this year, and I need more like hip glute activation stuff. What about you? What did you learn?
I'd say one of the most critical things that I learned, and I think I needed to learn, was taking a step back and thinking of the bigger picture. I am a completionist when I can be. All right, right? Like in terms of like I'm gonna suffer to the end of Grey's Anatomy, yo. Like I'm going to. Yeah, whatever. And not to say that I've had perfect training cycles where I haven't missed a single thing. Yeah, no. But I think that I had that weird, I think it was my plantar fascia in my right foot in October. And I remember I was freaking out about it. And I basically like I took the step back. I definitely missed a simulation weekend. And I knew that like I was like, okay, like one sim like that you then make up later, it's not going to be a big deal. Okay, it's not going to be a big deal. But I think that finally like being able to trust in that fully of like, okay, it's not going to be a big deal. It's a bigger deal if you run on it hurt. Like, what are you going to accomplish by suffering through a run that you shouldn't have done?
Nothing.
You're going to hurt yourself more. It's going to get worse. So being able to trust in the fact that, okay, like sometimes rest is the best medicine. Because I think what I did is I literally just rested it. And it was like 5 days that I took off of running. Like 5 days and looky do, what was fine? My foot. So I think being able to take a step back and think, thinking of the bigger picture, because I was wise enough to know that like your marathon, like you don't want to risk your marathon for a training run halfway through, right? Like it was more important to me to get to the start line healthy, because I was even pre-Wine and Dine that I was having that problem. Getting to the start line healthy, with no issues, rather than push it for like what my ego so that I can fill in a spreadsheet. Guess what? We filled in the spreadsheet anyway, not the whole way because then COVID happened. So I think that helped me learn how to roll with the punches. And, we get COVID 3 weeks before the marathon. I had actually done my last sim already. So yay on me for that. But I still, like Kristen and I had worked out because it was one of those, like with my schedule and I did my last sim early. I had a good weather day that, you just got to take them when you can get them. And we had worked out like a schedule of what I should be doing because I wasn't too tapered. And let me tell you, as I'm suffering in bed with on my couch with the cocoa, we were not doing that 15 miler that I was supposed to do. So rolling with the punches and, You know, like I remember thinking and almost lamenting. I'm like, wow, like how I felt around Thanksgiving with those Sims and whatnot. Like,
Mhm.
am I going to be able to do that? And I did, or right, like kind of almost lamenting, but like I was like, you know, things happen.
Mhm.
You have to just roll with the punches, right? That's why you prepare and that's why you train really well in like the first half of things, so that you're not like studying for the test right before it's
Mhm.
time for this time for the test.
Yeah.
Um,
And when you don't make yourself feel bad about it, it's a lot easier to pick up as well after you've had that
yeah,
time to recover. Whereas if you're beating yourself up, like it can just lead to this cycle of like,
shame
yeah,
and
and
guilt.
not picking. And it just, yeah, it doesn't go well. So don't do that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, like, because this is my first one back, like, it has to be good because, like, I missed all that. No. I eased back into it. I don't even know if I did a full 45 minutes. I think I just did like 30 something. I'm like, all right, we're done. Like,
Mm.
good enough. Um, and it was about just like getting like enough cardio, or, you know, just getting some cardio. And that felt good enough for me to do post that. So I think that being able to take that step back to think of the bigger picture, which was getting to the start line of marathon weekend, healthy, happy, you know, and able to accomplish what I had set out to do, was the biggest thing. Obviously, doing my speed work, doing the strength training. I think that this year obviously was a little different than this was my second year training with Christian. So I had done Goofy prior and then I Dopey this year. So I think that having obviously those extra days in there of like, you know, the big whopping 9 mile difference between Dopey and Goofy. But having to plan in for that was, um, yeah, but yeah, definitely doing my speed workouts, you know, learning how to, you know, like push when or pushing through like things that are difficult, um and just kind of committing to the process. I think that
Mhm.
that was probably a big training lesson that I took away. And you know, I made mistakes along the way, of course everyone does, but I know being able to, you all, I mean, in order to learn from them you have to make them.
Mhm.
So
I also learned how to kind of pace myself. That was my biggest like race learning, I guess. I mean, there's some fuel wins as well and fails. But um during that half in Princess, I really, like I said, I walked the whole first mile with KG. And I think that, like, do I need to walk the first mile of every race? No. But it taught me that, like, going easy, easing in, and like warming up properly and like getting into that space, I could be really, really successful. It helped me find a good pace and stick to it. And I was super consistent throughout that whole race. And so that's what I want to be striving for, is I want to find what that is and be able to do that in all my races. I think that would be good. Get some negative splits. Um and yeah, for like fuel, well, I didn't have any like gear mishaps, like no like I didn't really end up with any like chafing, not like I did during training, but not during any races, thank the Lord. And but I did have some fueling mishaps, aka marathon weekend, where I went to the bathroom in all four parks because I way overhydrated. Also, everyone, it was not just overhydrated, but also everyone else had like norovirus. So I was so paranoid
oh my
about the
god.
fact that I also had to go to the bathroom so much. I just was like, oh no, oh no, oh no. I was afraid to touch anything. That was just like a scary, scary time. But for Princess, I fueled that. I learned from it and I fueled it perfectly. I only had the one bathroom break. I didn't end up with a migraine at all. I wasn't in pain. I wasn't dizzy. I felt amazing the whole time, minus the brief period where I felt like I had to pee, but then it went away. Um, and it was just awesome. I felt so good afterwards. We ate. I was able to shower. We were able to pack, and like I felt good, which is insane because normally I do not feel good. What about you?
There's like a lot of things where I think that during training I was able to really lock into like what feels good and that I was able to execute on within the
Mm-hmm.
races, you know, thinking of the marathon specifically. There were moments where I felt like the wheels were falling off and like not that I was moving backwards necessarily, and I wouldn't say it was even a wall necessarily, as like I got a little excited in the TTC parking lot. My fastest 5K split was in the TT, or was between 10 and 13.1, because I was just a little amped up. Still negative split the race, but so maybe stop getting excited in parking lots, because you're going to fade later and you're going to pay for that. But I was able to, even when the wheels felt like they were falling off, I was moving faster than I really expected to be and what I had anticipated, because I think that's some of that mental training that I did throughout my training. I know with my 24 miler that I know I was at the last, I think 5 miles, I was suffering. Not even suffering, but I was like, I want to be done. Like mood. And then I like cooked out some pretty quick splits. I think, was I on the phone with you?
Yeah.
Or just texting you? Something or other. I was like, I think I sent you a picture of my watch. I'm like, narrator says that is a no-go. And it wasn't like I was going downhill or anything. I was either flat or uphill. So I was like, okay, yeah, how much can you be suffering right now if you're going to split that way? So I think being able to trust, because I think that sometimes what I do is I know that I can sometimes come out hot. I did that with swimming quite a bit. So sometimes I think I overcompensate for it. And but I think that the risk of, I think I'd rather have juice in my legs later, to be honest. Like if I'm, go a little slower in the start and then like kind of pick it up later. I'm always going to pick that than blaze out, than sprinting the warm up and blaze out during that and then die. So I think that being able to just kind of going off of feel for certain periods of time, and being able to kind of like take that step back when I needed to. But I think that I'm learning how to get out and cook in a more controlled way, and like I feel like in a way I'm almost starting to anticipate my splits better. And that's kind of crazy, because like, let me tell you, I'm always shocked Pikachu when I'm like, whoa. But like just based off of feel, or like sometimes like, oh honey, you gotta slow down, or like, yeah. I think also, I don't know, there's a lot I learned about like race strategies, and I think I'm gonna learn a lot more, especially as I'm going into my biggest like race coming up this fall. So I think I'm gonna continue to learn how to literally race, because like I don't have to worry about, I need to be able to walk, but like maybe after the marathon, but I don't have to worry about walking around the parks. I don't have a flight yet, but I'm assuming I'm not going to go home on Marathon Sunday. God no. But I don't have to worry about like, my races the next days. I can leave it all out there in Chicago. And I will. And I intend on doing that. So I think learning a little bit more about what that truly means is going to be interesting. I think we've planted the seeds this season, and now it's time to water them and let them grow.
Yeah.
I did have a little bit of a gear fail. Not a gear fail, but so I obviously chirp a lot about test it before you do it. Test it before you do it. So my hydration vest had gone through plenty of testing on in certain ways, right? I got it for Black Friday, so it went on at least my last long run, if not both of my final simulations. But it had never been on my skin against my skin with the tank top on. So I did kind of flag that as a potential problem. And I body glided where I could, and then just accepted as I was running down back towards Epcot on the highway that the bat wings were not feeling great, because they were rubbing against my hydration vest a little bit. It is what it is. I anticipated the problem with it being a new vest, so like it's not like I was surprised. Yeah, we had a little bit of a chafing incident there, but it's okay. We survived. Fuel wise, I think that I did a really pretty good job with fueling this year. Practiced through it. I think that's something that I made an executive decision on during the marathon, which I did try something newer on race day. um, was that I actually took for the last about hour and a half of the marathon, I took my fuel a little early.
Oh.
I took it like around 25 minutes versus 30. Um, probably because I was starting to feel like I was fading. I'm like, I need this to hit at 30 actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that I think I had seen Kristen do for herself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Right? It's not like it's new fuel. It's the fuel I've been taking. Like what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to have a little too many carbs in my system. Guess what? I'm running a marathon.
It's almost impossible to do.
Yeah, I'm probably still undercarbed. So that was one of those things that I think that it was a calculated risk to do. Something I also had never done was I put Element in my bladder.
Mm-hmm.
And that I managed my sodium really, really well. It didn't, because I wore my I still need to get another one, but I have a silicone wedding band
Mm-hmm.
with an N on it in case I forget my name, aka for Nebraska. And I got it like right before I left for marathon weekend because it happened to fit. I just picked it up, and I wore that as basically a sodium check throughout all the races. And it really wasn't until toward the very end of the marathon where it was starting to feel a little bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I managed my sodium, because I will get very, very puffy fingers when I'm not managing my sodium correctly. So it was a good test of like, oh, the ring still feels good. We still feel good. It was like I did move it to my pinky, I think the last 2 miles, because we were starting to suffer a little. I'm a salty sweater, but I was able to, I think, execute pretty well on that. And yeah. Speaking of fuel and stuff like that, favorite new dining that you tried this season?
Well, I tried a lot of new things thanks to you and your mom. It was a
True.
whole new world. Everything was new. A whole new world. I can't sing. I absolutely loved Kona though. I have a soft spot for anything vaguely Polynesian, and I just really loved it. I had a really cool like soup while we were there. It was like spicy, and I think it had like leeks and sausage and stuff. It was very tasty. And also some like, I think maybe like similar to like a firecracker sushi roll.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely spicy, that's for sure. Whatever was the spicy powder on my sushi was also on whatever you had at that meal.
Yeah, my tuna on my poke bowl.
And it was hot, but it was good.
It was so good.
So I really liked that. And there's a very long list of things. I want to try the whole menu. So
I'm so down. So I love Kona. My winner, my big winner from this is Morimoto Asia. I finally got over to try it, which helps when you're staying at a Disney Springs resort for every weekend. And both meals I had there, because I had one during marathon weekend and one during springtime surprise, were so good. So yummy. Honestly, some of the best orange chicken I've ever had. I hadn't had orange chicken in a long time, everybody. I had to get it.
Yum.
Everything is so flavorful, delicious, and just incredible. And like the portion size, it's expensive. All Disney food is, but like the portion sizes are pretty generous, I'd say. So definitely, if that's not on your list, it should be.
Well, what do we have ahead? What are we planning on doing next season?
In terms of plan, there is no plan.
There is a plan.
There is a plan. In terms of what I have on the books, it's dopey so far. I know I'll be at Princess. That's going to be one of those where, like, as soon as the thing opens for my link, like, boom, in. I am hunting for a Wine and Dine bib. Potentially. I'm just going to look. I think I have made the decision that I'll probably be fine.
Okay.
Post Chicago. I think I'll probably be fine. And if for some reason it doesn't open and I can't do it, and then maybe that's just a sign that I just wasn't meant to be. But I think I am going to hunt for a Wine and Dine bib. I don't think I'm going to try to get in for the I'm going to take what I can get. I mean, I probably wouldn't fly down for anything less than the half personally for me. Not to say that like that for anybody else, but personally for me, I probably wouldn't go if I can't get at least the half, if not the challenge. But we'll see.
Yeah. What about springtime?
Possibly springtime.
Okay.
What about you?
I've got the standalone marathon for marathon weekend. I am jealous of all the dopey everything. However, I have other shenanigans planned by going to Epic with Ben, so it's going to be fine. I am also planning on Princess. I would very much like to repeat that experience, potentially with actual vacation days. Instead of the crazy work, not vacation days situation that I tried this year, but I would like to do that again. Princess is really, really fun. And I just always want to go to Princess, I think. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what themes await us. That'll be fun because we should get that news somewhat soon. And I guess probably the reason that I'm like somewhat iffy on springtime at the moment is that I did lotto for London.
Same.
If for some reason we get selected, there's no way. Like there's no way. However,
someone's got to get picked, so maybe.
Yes, exactly. With a name of like Boyle O'Malley, I don't know if that helps or hurts. Being on the same island, obviously, but we will know, right? Because I think they call the lotto in July, and springtime registration's at the end of July, so we will know before registration. But it's upish in the air. I don't know. I want to say it said July on the thing. But I don't know if they necessarily gave a date of like July 15th, for example.
I am looking right now.
Yes, tell us.
Oh, it just says generic. It says the results from the marathon will be emailed to all entrants in July. Generic. Yeah, there is no date.
We'll figure it out eventually. I feel like I'd feel confident in saying I feel like there's strong odds that it's in like before springtime registration.
Yeah.
But as we learned this year, like springtime stayed open for a while. But we also don't know. Okay, there's a lot of I don't knows right now. So it'll be interesting. So we don't know. There's 2 weekends of themes that we don't know. What is your high in the sky like hope you would want to have?
I don't. I genuinely don't know. I'm always just so excited for everything. For Prince. I mean, we know what the theme is for marathon. So for Princess is really all that, because I don't think I'm going to do springtime. But I really like Merida. My hair is not her color, but I have curly hair, so
True.
Curly girl all the way. And I don't personally have anything with Moana yet. I know that we've just had her not too long ago for a race, but
another curly girl.
Yeah, another curly girl. Maybe that's my bias. If the princess has curly hair, I like her.
Wait, okay, so who else? I call Belle like kind of like at least like a wavy queen.
Maybe.
Because like, well, I'm thinking of her like yellow dress hair. That's curly. Like they curl her hair for that. I'd say she got a little wave going on.
Yeah.
Aurora's definitely a wavy queen.
Yeah, she's got like beach waves, I guess.
Yeah, she's like the perfect hair. I feel like
Tiana has curly hair.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Mother Gothel. We don't like her, but she has curly hair.
Good Lord. Rapunzel has a lot of it.
But I think that's it, honestly.
My high in the sky dream is always hashtag Mary Poppins.
Oh, true.
Like, yeah, that's always my hope. She used to be at Cinderella's royal table, so like she could be a princess. And in 2023, they had, before the half started, they were like, oh, like princesses of all kinds, whatever. And guess who they started with that video? Mary Poppins. They started with Ashley Green. Wait, no, sorry, that's Twilight. Ashley Brown. Hoa, 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 baby. Ashley Brown, who was the Mary Poppins on Broadway, they started with a little like speech from her. So all I'm saying is they should make her a theme for princess. In terms of springtime, that's where we obviously can get a little silly.
Wait, before we go to springtime, have we had Raya yet? Because I'd be down for Raya.
Not during Princess, but she was a theme during Wine Dine one year. Wine and Dine in 22, I think. I think it was Sisu was the 10K.
That's amazing.
But springtime. We can just get silly for springtime. Mm-hmm. I've always been a stan of the idea of a 100-acre wood theme.
Yeah.
Like I've always give me Eeyore on a medal. Like imagine like his little tail as a spinner or something. Like oh, it'd be so cute. I'd love it. That would get like what would be your hook? Like what would get you?
What would get me?
Yeah, what would get you thinking about it like really strongly?
That's so difficult. I don't know.
I don't even know if I have an answer to this, but besides 100-acre wood is definitely that would be like, oh, bye.
Atlantis. That's what would get me. If they did an Atlantis race, I would be there would be no question. It would be take all of my money, sign me up for every race. That's it. That's my one.
Ooh, that's so good. Hunchback, that would be a must. I would somehow bully my husband into that. I don't know how much. Well, it would depend on the distance. Like if it were a 5, I think it's not as much bullying for a 5K as it is maybe a 10K or a half. But Atlantis is so good. I can only imagine that medal.
DuckTales would be cute. Oh my
god!
I think Treasure Planet is a little maybe. I don't know if it was popular enough, but I think that would be very niche if they did Treasure Planet.
That is a good one.
I just want them to pull out a bunch of the like
deep cuts.
Yeah, basically. I'm not surprised that like they haven't like Descendants is very popular. I know that this is not a deep cut. This is like more recent. And it's like live action, so it's kind of hard to do the characters. But they've made so many movies, so I'm a little surprised there. I'm waiting for them to do Turning Red. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, she's not really a princess, so like obviously princess, but they could totally do it for springtime. I want to see the big red bear.
Panda.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they had Four Town out at one race weekend, like performing. Like they had like people like that. But that'd be so good. Be so good. Because I feel like with Descendants that they kind of have to like the kids who grew up watching those more would have to like grow up into adults.
Yeah. Or they could do it for like the kids races.
Oh yeah. I'd love to see those come back. Yeah. Not that I have children, but
did they have kids races at Disneyland?
They
do.
And
now that they're closing Disneyland, maybe they will bring back the kids at Disney World. Fill the gap a little bit. Maybe not.
Yeah. I'm curious because I have only been to one race weekend on the East Coast that had kids races, and that was my first one. So obviously, I was not like lurking around the ESPN Wide World of Sports. But I'm curious as to, and if you had your kids participate in that or know more than us, feel free to let us know. But I'm curious as to, because usually the expo doesn't start until 11 or 12 on that Saturday, and that's the day they usually have the kids races, is 10K day, for thinking like Princess, thinking weekends that culminate in a half or a 10 miler. But those types of weekends. And what I'm curious about is like, did they start it? Because at Disneyland, they started at 10. I'm almost positive they started around 10, maybe 9. So it was enough time that you had time to finish your race. Like, you didn't really have like, you had time to finish your race, like go back, shower, go get your kid. If they were in the, if you're doing the 10K. So I'm curious if there's like, I don't know. I don't really know enough, or if they would just have it go concurrent, or maybe if it's at 4, like when the expo is closing, or maybe it just runs with the expo. Because then, like, oh, I'm going to go pop back in and go see that vendor or see what merch is left after. So maybe that's it too. I don't really know enough about how they operate it, but it'd be kind of nice to see them come back. And stuff.
But yeah, if they do an Atlantis race, there's no question I will be there. Anywhere in the world, any park, I will be there.
Oh, it's like Disney's like, don't threaten me with a good time. Yeah, I think Mary Poppins, that would be like on site. I'd be there absolutely 100%. I think I would get Maz out of retirement for Mary Poppins. Absolutely would she get out of retirement for that. But yeah, there's so many good themes out there, and I've like liked the way they've leaned into some different stuff over the last couple of years too. And definitely different characters too. That's been pretty cool. I'd always love to see something that's kind of like park based, like imagine like an Avatar.
Yeah,
that'd be so cool.
They'd have a lot of people running around in blue body paint.
True that. I think that's probably a little bit like further in the future, because I'm going to manifest that we're going to get like a night race again, like in Animal Kingdom. But
yeah,
that'd be so cool. I guess on to the future.
Yes, even more onto the future.
Slash like,
what are our plans?
What's our plan? Like kind of podcast really. I guess something I think we've touched on a little bit, but like what's something that's changed about race weekends based on having the podcast? This is our first full season doing this.
We wanted to do a meetup. We did not execute because Princess was so chaotic and there was so much going on ahead of time. But I would definitely like to do at least one meetup this season, if not more. And I want to execute on a group costume. Like, we've been mentioning full Buzz, like, but I think we're gonna recreate the Buzz Lightyear ride, not just the characters. We're gonna like go big, baby.
Pew pew. Yeah, that'd be so. I think that would be so much fun to do, like a full like group costume. Obviously, I keep chirping about the American Girl dolls. I want to do it. I want to make that happen so badly. Because it would be so much fun to do, I think. And just like everyone's spin on like American Girl dolls, like, I don't know, especially as like, that's like making your research. Not that it was ever gone, but like making your, I feel like just the number of American Girl memes that I see like rolling around, like it's like, oh yeah, we're so here. But yeah, I'd love to do like a full blown like actual like meetup that's not just like we're gonna hover around the Rise and Run area near there. So on your way out from Rise and Run meetup, which I also love getting to chat with like Bob and Greg and John, whoever's around. But on your way out, you can stop by. We will be there. But it would be, I think, the kind of like a meetup, like actually like in the parks. Like, yes, it's going to somehow be somewhat goofy and silly the way that it wouldn't be us unless it was. Like, yes, will we meet by the Indiana Jones tank one day? Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Because I'm Mr. Natalie, so we should.
I'm taking everyone to ABC commissary afterwards. Let's go.
But yeah, I think one of the ways that things have like obviously like people like wanting to like see me and whatnot, or being like, Natalie, I'm like, what? Like just whipped around my hair and hit the mic. Just for emphasis. But it's been just such like a joy, I think, also to see people and just, I don't know, following. I think it's really enriched like the experience through a race weekend, because it's like getting to follow on like little nuggets of everybody's journeys, and like being able to meet people too that I might have never known, or like maybe had stood next to in a corral and I never knew. And then now like I talk to them, or they are like, oh, LOL, like I like am invested in their journeys. And I think broadening our horizons, and honestly like it's beyond like any like scope of any what I could have imagined would have come of this, from people who are like, wow, you've inspired my journey. And that is not something that I take lightly. It's very much an honor. And definitely is one of those like why we do this, because we want to bring people together.
So join us for one of our things. Maybe even our Animal Kingdom day drinking pub crawl thing.
Yes.
We have so many aspirations.
We have a lot of ideas, and I think that that's been interesting, more in like kind of taking a step back from like how the race weekends have changed, like in a way, just like life and like that, like obviously over this last season of like, not only do you have to make the time to like do your training, but you got to make the time for like the podcast stuff too. Like we have a lot of ideas, and like sometimes they don't always come to fruition. But like that's like, I don't know, like I say often with costumes, like an idea, like it'll sit and fester for a while. Like sometimes it never fully disappears for me. It'll sometimes we don't execute it for like a couple years, or like sometimes like it's, you know, like maybe not the way I wanted to execute it, like certain costumes I've had. But I think kind of just learning, just learning, I don't know, kind of learning like the whole like ropes of things. And like it's interesting the way that I think we approach like the season, like before even like outside of race weekends, because it's like, oh, like we'll get the event guide this week, like, and like obviously we were going to pour over it anyway, like every single, like not a tab unclicked in that event guide. But it's extra exciting because it's like, oh, like we're going to look through and we're going to talk about it. Like we're going to do other stuff with it.
Yeah. Like I have already Natalie got to see this firsthand. I went a little crazy with our outline planning for the next not just few months, but through like basically the end of the calendar year, possibly further than that, possibly to the full end of next season. I don't know. And I just wrote I put a ton of outlines in there, planned out like all of our episode ideas. We moved them around and stuff, but like tentatively filled out our calendar. And so we spend time doing that. We spend time recording, obviously, anywhere from like 2 to 3-ish hours every weekend, pretty much. If we record ahead of time, obviously that multiplies out. Then when we edit, it takes double however long we record. So whoever's editing for that week could be committing anywhere from 2 to 9 hours of their time on average to the podcast. And yeah, it's wild because we didn't used to do that, and we're not complaining. We enjoy doing it, but it's crazy the time you set aside for your hobbies that you like. If you look back, like my weekends look completely different a year ago.
Yeah, I just basically took wedding planning, like yeeted that out, and then just dropped this in instead. T's and P's. But yeah, it's definitely, it's interesting. And then there's like, I don't know, like thinking content. And I don't know, we're like Hannah and I both, and we're not really voice note people yet, probably because we talk for a couple hours a week, obviously recorded line, but where we just both get spurts of like, these are the thoughts I have. And Hannah's are usually better put together than mine. Because I like, there was one where it just like, and like sometimes Hannah will just go, okay. And then like later I'll explain what it is. And she's like, okay. But like, she'll just go, okay. I was like, I just need to get it out of my head and like onto something else so that somebody else has seen it. And then like I can develop the idea a little bit more after that.
Yes. You're much more of a like brainstorm as it goes kind of person. I may brainstorm in my head. Don't let anyone know until I think it's a good idea and it's fully formed.
Yeah. It's just that sometimes, especially like if it's like a run thought, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be gone if I don't write this down like right now. Or like problem solving, or like just stuff like that, where it's like kind of one of those where I'm like, I'm going to just drop this out of here and, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think that it's definitely been a blessing to like have this community and stuff like that. And like, you guys are the reason we do this too. So like, obviously we would be yapping with each other about Run Disney anyway and running anyway, but it's definitely something where it gives us time to even, come back together on a weekly basis and chat about things and happy memories and stuff like that. And like, we've obviously been close for like over a decade now, but it's given us like definitely a deeper purpose and meaning and enriched things. So we thank you for being there and listening to us yap.
And our 1-year anniversary is coming up in July. So we will be celebrating that. So get ready for us to spend a whole nother segment of that episode gushing about how much we love you guys. So we wouldn't be getting to that milestone without you.
Oh yeah. In terms of, it's a special thing. When people say that, they're like, yeah, you helped me through my long run. I'm like, did I really? Like, did I? Like, that's an honor. Like that you have a lot of things that you could listen to, and that you choose.
And you chose us.
So unfortunately for you, you chose us. But I think that I'm excited to, and it makes me also more motivated and excited to share some of my stuff. I think it kind of like changes the lens. Like I've had a couple people who are like, yeah, I'm really excited to see how you approach marathon training with Chicago, and how it changes. And like, there's your routine that you have and how like you document it along the way. And it's kind of nice to have like almost an audio diary of how that went. And, it'll be interesting to like listen back to like my Titanic story. It'll be like, so I had this podcast when I was in my late 20s into my 30s, and something to listen to and reminisce on.
So thank you guys. Thank you so much for listening. We have lots of fun plans ahead.
Yeah, as we close our yearbook on this year, we're just getting started.
See you next summer.
Hags,
see you
have a great summer. Right in our yearbook. You are really smart. See you in German class next year.
Tag us on Instagram and let us know what your yearbook message would be. If you enjoy listening to our show, please leave us a review and a 5-star rating. We love reading your reviews out loud. You might even be featured on a future podcast episode. We have a community spotlight on our Instagram at Stride Sisters Podcast. If you want to be featured for a Medal Monday, Finish Line Friday, or any accomplishment you want to celebrate, send us a picture via our social media platforms or our email. And to continue the fun, join us on our Facebook page. All the ways to connect with us can be found in the show notes. Thanks for listening. Until our next adventure, we're wishing you endless miles of magic and memories. See you next time.